everybody, and welcome to another episode. This is the Studs and Scrubs podcast. We are your hosts, just a couple of scrubs, and we will be going through some of the studs and the scrubs in the NHL that maybe aren't playing up to their potentials, giving fantasy advice and talking all things hockey. If you are new to us, Happy New Year. This is a Christmas New Year special rolling into 2025, and with me as always is Nick Strum with the big beard there.
Yes, sir. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, Merry Christmas. Joining as a special guest star is a research analyst specialist, Nick's son, Eli. How you doing, Eli?
I'm doing good.
Good to hear. So just normally Eli is not able to join with us, but he's on his Christmas break, so he's going to be in both these holiday special episodes with us and brings a lot of valuable insight, as anyone who is involved in sports knows that the younger generation sometimes are better at keeping up with stuff, whether it's research or fantasy or the video games. They know everybody's name. They know all the trades and everything that's happening, and I'm like behind a little bit.
Yeah. Well, he was telling me he got some hockey cards for Christmas, and I guess they're not, would you say, the newer ones? They don't put, like, the stats on the back of the cards?
They don't put, on the old cards, they used to put all their stats, like, every year. They don't do any stats anymore. At least on the cards I have gotten.
Yeah, really? So, like, the latest years, the more recent years, I guess, they just have kind of done away with that. No one really cares anymore. I don't know. What's on the back of the cards now?
They'll write, like, a sentence or two about them. Or, like,
weird. Like,
career best game they had or something.
Okay.
Well, some little bit of trivia or something. Or
yeah, probably.
In one game or something like that. Or weird.
Yeah. But I thought that was the point of, like, the cards. Was, like, so you could see their stats and everything. But, I mean...
Right. Well, it probably was originally, right? Especially baseball. It was like not only a collector, but it was like, look, this guy, I got Mickey Mantle, he's got the most hits or whatever,
Yeah, you don't have the internet to look that stuff up.
You don't have the internet.
Cards.
It was kind of cool, right? Otherwise, what are you going to do? Read the newspaper and keep a journal of every player in baseball? Maybe. Like, I know that some people probably did because there's a lot of stats in baseball, but you got the cards to trade. I know I'm talking 1950s here, but like, 60s, it's like, to this day, though, that's what kind of makes the cards fun and cool, right? Is the tradition, the whatever.
Yeah.
So. Do they have one of those QR codes? Is it like their internet cards now?
Oof. No.
Because that was a thing for a little bit. I don't know if it ever took off. But I think it was the deck, the original top deck or whatever. What's it called? The
Upper Deck.
Yes. I think that Upper Deck and NHL were working together to try to make it like a popular thing with the kids again. Like, oh, I'm trading, but I'm doing it on the internet. Mm-hmm. And I feel like it was kind of the boomers trying to understand trading Pokemon in the 90s. It was like, no, you link your Game Boys, you trade your cards, and it's like, that's not how it works anymore.
Yeah, I don't know what happened, but it is interesting.
All right, good stuff. So the big news in the Red Wings world is obvious. It's kind of not news anymore, I guess, but just a few days ago, fired the head coach and assistant coach, actually. Bring in Todd McClellan is the big name that we're going to briefly mention, not go into too much detail. But what was your reactions to that? You got any things to go with Todd right out of the gate?
I don't know. I kind of like the move. I think I think it'll help.
It is. Sometimes you think mid-season coaching change, what's it going to do? But, and I was kind of surprised that Yzerman did it because he's very methodical in his process and deliberate with his decision-making. And, but I believe he came out and said that their expectation this year was to be competing for a wild card playoff spot. Now, obviously, you want him to say we're competing for a Stanley Cup, but he's a realist. He knows where we're at. We were competing last year for a wild card spot, and so this year, I don't see why that wasn't the expectation. So we're a few games behind that. I think maybe 4 or 5 wins out of the second wild card spot right now. I know the Wings just got waxed by Toronto last night, so first game for McClellan didn't go as planned, but I kind of like it because there were some, and I should have done a little more research on this, but there have been recently teams that have made mid-season coaching changes and then just went on a run in the second half of the season and made the playoffs. And um, the St. Louis Blues, when they won the Cup, they were dead last in the league at Christmas. They made a coaching change, I believe, a little bit before Christmas, and then brought up rookie goalie at the time, Jordan Bennington, and just went on this crazy run. Now, I'm not saying the Red Wings, follow suit and we bring up Kosa and he's the savior for the Wings, but he is a goalie in waiting, and he's obviously the next franchise goalie for the Red Wings. I don't see that happening, but I do like the move. I like just kind of getting a fresh voice in there, someone that's familiar with the Wings organization. This guy's been an NHL coach before for the Sharks, Oilers, and Kings. He's coached a lot of talented players. He's made playoffs with teams. He's got, I forget what some of the numbers are, but he's had teams reach 100 points. He's had teams reach 50 wins before. So give him a few years. We'll see what he does, right off the bat in the second half of the season. But I think, I think everyone knows, or at least Yzerman does, the Wings organization, that, hey, we're going to see what happens the second half of the season. But the real test is next season when you get a full season under your belt. Right. I'm not a fan of just moving coaches just every few years or whatever. And the Wings, Lalonde's been there for 3, so you kind of know what you have by year 3. You know where you're at. Mm-hmm. And sometimes it is just a fresh voice, a new perspective, someone doing something different with the players. That is what it takes just to make that next leap, So I think we've been a wild card competing team the last few years, and so we got to make the next move. And if that's a change in coach, then that's what we got to do. So I like it. I was kind of shocked and surprised that it happened mid-season like this, but something had to. You have to do something. You have to make a move to show the team and your fan base and your organization that, hey, we see a problem and we're trying to correct it.
Right.
In the long run, is it going to be the right move? Who knows? But at least you're trying something. You're making a move to do something different. You can't just do the same thing over and over again and expect a different outcome. Right? That's insanity. So right. I like it. I like what we'll see how it goes. But yeah.
I agree with you guys. I think that it was maybe the inevitable monster, to slay that dragon, so to speak. But it was like, I don't really blame Lalonde for the Red Wings underperforming this year. I think that, he does a decent job. He's a pretty good coach. And there's a few things to digest with, like what you were saying, where Yzerman's very methodical. And to be honest, I wasn't surprised that they fired a coach back, like a month ago. I said, okay, you got to do it. He's out. You look at Boston and the Blues kind of playing musical chairs a little bit with Monty going over there. And it's like, Red Wings are doing terrible. And, the coach has got to go. But then when you were kind of saying Yzerman's not going to do something mid-season in your mind, then I heard that ever since the Ilitch family bought the Red Wings, they had never made a coaching change in the middle of a season since they were the owners.
Correct.
And I was like, oh, whoa, okay, maybe they won't. And the Red Wings suck. It is what it is, and we're just going to be bad this year, and then next year we'll try again. And it shows to Yzerman's competitiveness a little bit where, like, he's not okay with losing. Yes, realistically, we are not the Panthers. The Red Wings are not even the Leafs or Dallas or whoever. Like, they are not the first top 5 names that come to your mind of who's going to win the Cup this year. Realistically, it'd be a miracle. You mentioned the Blues going from the bottom to the top. Last year, Chris Knobloch comes to mind. He comes in, Oilers are terrible. They're 1 game, 1 goal basically away from a Stanley Cup. Okay. We don't have Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl and whoever else. So I don't think that the Wings are going to go on a miracle win to win it all. That'd be cool. But like you said, Yzerman comes out and says, look, the goal is we're competing for wild card. Right now, the Wings sit, I think, if my math's right, 8 points from wild card.
Yeah.
You're 8 points out of a wild card, and you've played one more game than the Senators. That's bad. You're almost ready to pack in a suitcase. And this is kind of Yzerman saying, just because I'm methodical and I'm slow and I'm careful doesn't mean I'm afraid to make decisions. And one saying, you said, bouncing around coaches or bringing them in over and over and over again. With Lalonde, it's almost like you have nothing to lose. They bring in a coach that's been in a winning culture in the Lightning. Yzerman knows him from the Lightning. You give him a chance to go from assistant coach to head coach. He does a pretty good job. He's got a very young team. The Red Wings kind of exceeded expectations last year a little bit. So you're kind of saying Lalonde's doing great, but then if he doesn't do great or things go sour like they did this season, you've helped his career. You've given your team a chance with someone that you thought was competent. It's not like a handout, promotion. That now Lalonde maybe in a few years will go with another team. Maybe even as soon as, like I've heard Anaheim, a lot of people hate their coach. They got a lot of young talent. Lalonde's got a decent resume where he can say, look what I did as an assistant coach. Look what I did with the Red Wings. It's not my fault that Tarasenko and Kane and some of these older guys don't produce like they used to. I can only do so much. So it's kind of a win-win, really, where you think of it like with Todd McClellan's resume and history, you're just thinking like, here's a move that we are thinking long-term. This is kind of our next guy. And unfortunately, like we talked about last time, I think that the Red Wings have a really, really bright future. It's not this season, next season. It's a 5-year plan. And I heard an interview right before the trade had got announced. So they were talking about the Red Wings, and it was Sean Avery that played most of his career with Rangers. Remember Sean Avery?
Yeah.
He was with the Wings when they were super good for a brief time, I think in the 02 Cup run and all that. And they asked about the Red Wings, and he said, like the Wings maybe aren't where they would wish they were, but in his mind, like you said, the Yzer plan is not done. He's not sitting on his hands. He's not going like, oh, all these people on Twitter know so much more about hockey than me. He's looking at it going, why would I mortgage the future to try to go get maybe Elias Pettersson, right? There's all this drama. JT Miller and Pettersson don't like each other. Yzerman gives away all of his picks and goes and gets Pettersson. The Red Wings are not a Pettersson away from a Stanley Cup. So it's like he might have something in the back of his head where somebody that's in a different country or in the prospect pool or a big name, maybe their contract's done in 3 years, not in 1 year. And he's looking going, once I get rid of Hall and Shabbat and Kane and Tarasenko and Kosa's ready, and then I've got an extra $10 million in cap space, watch out, because all of a sudden in 2028, 2030, the Wings are just going to flood in. But one thing Sean Avery said, he said, I'll tell you what, I know Steve Yzerman. I played with him. He does not like his team going out there, not competing, playing soft, and losing. He will not stand for you going on the ice and losing. I'll tell you that right now. Yeah. And they go get a new coach like a week after this interview, and it's like, okay, I know Sean Avery's not going to the Hall of Fame, but here's somebody who played with him that said it is just in his DNA. Steve Yzerman wins. That's all he does, and he is not going to sit around and say, our team sucks. That's okay. Maybe it's not the coach's fault, but the change needed to happen. Like you said, he addressed it. It sends out to all the internet world, all the fans, all the media. Like the Red Wings know there's a problem, and they're not going to sleep. They're here to play, and I love it. To be honest, I love the Todd McClellan hire.
Yeah. So I would say couple things. First, I know that Lalonde's he's done a fine job, but the problem is when you have kind of a younger team like that, you're really just a bridge coach, and I hate to say that, but I mean, some of these guys, you look at the team as a whole. There's players on the team now that Yzerman has signed that they're not the future of the Red Wings. Tarasenko this year, even Patrick Kane, we weren't a Patrick Kane away from the cup, but it's like you're going to bring these veterans in. You're going to have them help the younger guys. You're telling me that Lucas Raymond isn't learning. He's practicing with Patrick Kane and practice all the time. So you're around these guys. So it's kind of even those moves, while their playing days is kind of a short term thing, the impact that they're going to have on your young stars is for the long haul. It's having these guys around some of these guys that have won multiple cups, that are Hall of Famers, that are coming in and practicing with their guys, so that they can learn from them, and so that Lucas Raymond, 5 years from now can carry the team and be the future of the team. He's still what, 22, 23 maybe.
Right.
I mean, we're talking, we got time. I know everyone thinks, including myself, sometimes you get a little worried because you're like, man, we're wasting Larkin's prime. He's almost 30. He's 20, 28, 29. Okay, but he can still be. Yzerman didn't win a cup until he was late in his career, and then he ended with 3. So I think we still just need to be patient with these guys. But and I'm not saying that Todd McClellan is going to be the guy that wins the cup, for the Wings or with the Wings or whatever. But making a move, it's easier to make a coaching change than some player personnel stuff. So
Right.
I mean, you had to do something. And Yzerman's not going to sit, like you were talking about, how just being competitive and stuff. And if you look over his career as a GM, he's always been a slow burn kind of guy. We're going to change the culture and turn this team around through draft picks. And if you want it to last, then it's going to have to be through young talent, through the draft. The Wings didn't have good draft picks for a long time because they were always so good, they were winning. And then when you're doing that, you're trading your first round draft picks worth nothing to you. So you're going to trade it. And, I think they got Hasek for a third round draft pick. You're going to trade it for those guys to make your team better now. Well, now the Wings are in a different situation. Now They need to build with the young guys through the draft because free agents aren't going to come there. Free agents were coming to Detroit because it was like, yeah, I want to win a cup. And I'm talking 20 years ago. Brett Hall, Luke Robitaille, Dominic Hasek, Darian Hatcher, even, some of these guys didn't win cups with them. Daniel Alfredson.
Yeah.
But the attraction was there. Hey, the Wings are a contender. I'll take less money. I'm towards the end of my career. I just want to win a cup.
It's tons of them.
Right. So we're not that team anymore. So, Yzerman has to build through the draft. We're not attractive to free agents right now. So if we can, there's some people out there, some talk too of, Yzerman's job's on the line now and all this stuff. And listen, if you look at the team and where Detroit was when he took over as to where they're at now, we've made progress. So I don't think we're going in the wrong direction or we're being stale. I think it's just taking a while. But if it takes a while to get good, then you're going to be good for a while.
Right.
If you go out and sign a bunch of superstars to 2-3 year deals, okay, great. We were good for 2-3 years, and then they're all going to leave, and then we don't have draft picks, we don't have a future, we got nothing. So you have to kind of do the slow burn a little bit and just be patient with it. Even when Yzerman was in Tampa Bay, guess what? It took a while for them to be the juggernaut that they turned into. But then, guess what? They were a juggernaut for like 5-7 years, and won multiple cups. So, you got to be patient. Like I said, McClellan still might not be the answer, but like I said, we're making changes. We're trying to figure it out. At least Yzerman is. So,
yes,
I like making moves. I like trying to address the problems instead of just remaining stagnant. That wasn't going to change anything.
I agree with you, and you made a really good point about if it takes a long time to build up what you're trying to do and make it good, then it will last. Because if you just glance at maybe some examples, I'm not 100% sure, but like the Lightning is my go-to answer, where once again, kind of out of nowhere, they move off Stamkos and they get Gensel, and their team is stacked, but it's not just Point, Gensel, Kucherov tearing it up. It's like Vasilevsky was hurt. He's back. That young kid, Johansson, their backup goalie, he just had like a 40 save shutout this week.
Yeah.
It's like, and then you say, okay, why are you moving off Sergachev and all this stuff? And it's like, they are essentially done. They're well past their prime. Okay. Not so much, maybe. You're looking at them. They have played 5 games less than the Bruins. They're only 2 points behind them. They've played 4 games less than the Panthers. They're only 6 points behind them. And they just beat the tar out of them head-to-head in Sunrise. So it's like they're still a legitimate threat to the Cup, probably not top 5 contender. And they are way worse than they were in 2018, 19, 20, when they were winning or going to the final. Even in 2015, when they were a totally different team and they lost to the Blackhawks, it's like they have been good, a threat to the Cup for 10 years, and they went to the finals 3 years in a row. Like, that is how you do it, which, of course, Yzerman helped build a lot of that team, but that's not even because of Yzerman. I'm just saying that, to your point, when you build slow, long-term like that, it lasts. Where you look at a team that stereotypically kind of buys their players, the Rangers are struggling. They are really not doing well this year. And another one that sort of did it a little bit just recently, 4 or 5 years ago, the Sharks kind of went and got Carlson and Burns, and they kind of were buying people, trying, Pavelski's last run and all this. They're horrible.
Yeah.
And they just kind of bought at the deadline to go all in, where you look at the Oilers took forever to get good. They're good. Avalanche took forever to get good. They're good. And the Lightning and even kind of the Bruins, like, to your point, that's the Stars maybe. They took forever to get good, and it's like they're not going away anytime soon.
And I like those teams you're bringing up, because if you look at those teams when they won the Cup, or were even just in the finals, we're talking Florida, Edmonton, Colorado, Pittsburgh's another good example. I would venture to guess, I haven't done the research, but that a lot of those teams have had homegrown talent on their team.
Yeah, probably.
I mean, the Penguins, obviously Crosby, Malkin,
Mm-hmm. But the Avs of the world, the Raquels of the world.
Yeah, so you got to have other players that you're bringing in, complementary players and stuff. But the Oilers, a lot of those guys they drafted and developed. The Avs drafted and developed. Penguins drafted and developed. Tampa Bay drafted and developed. Boston, they draft and develop.
Yep.
That's what you have to do, and they might not end up being. Let's just stick with the Wings here for a second, okay? Like I said, Lucas Raymond's, 23 or something? Okay, so in 5 years, when you got Kosa, Raymond, Seider, and still Larkin, you can bring in that superstar that maybe now is your top center, and Larkin slides down and he's your number 2 center.
Right.
So, yeah, you might have your best player on your team might be a free agent that comes over and, whatever. But you have to have that talent that you've drafted and developed. Right. And that is kind of part of the core of your team, at least, and leading that, I think.
Definitely.
At least I think that goes a long way if you can do it that way. But
for sure. I mean, think of like a not even the really young guys like Bedard and Celebrini, but like a Kaprizov or something. Why would he ever come to the Red Wings today? Right. But in 5 years, if he's top 10 in the league, and his contract's up, and now the Wings are suddenly good, and they say, well, we want you to be our number 1 power player, our number 1 center, our go-to guy, and he's 29, 30, and Larkin's 35. Okay, Larkin is an amazing player, but he's the second-line center. If Larkin's your second-line center, or heck, look at the Four Nations. Larkin's like the line 4 center. That team might be the best team in the world. Okay, well, if he's your number 1 guy and the only one who seems to be able to play hockey, Raymond and Seider and Larkin, is like, you'll be okay.
Yeah.
Your team's all right, but they're near the bottom of the standings because your roster sucks.
Right.
And, then you get Edvinsson, who's like apparently almost as good as Seider, and it's like he got hurt. I don't know if he's still out. It didn't look good when it happened, but now you're talking like, okay, you might have 4 legit long-term superstars that Larkin, everyone knows, is the underrated superstar, and now you got Kosa, Raymond, Edvinsson, and Seider, that it's like they're all under 25 and are potentially going to turn into the Stamkos, Point, Kucherov, Vasilevsky, Hedman, line that is like, okay, yes, maybe they're not quite as flashy and explosive out of the gate as a Makar, but like everyone knows Sider's a different player and how good he is. So it's like Raymond's still probably going to break 30 goals and doesn't really have anyone playing with him. The Cat's not showing up. Kane's not showing up. Tarasenko's not showing up. Comfort, Cop, like these guys are not McKinnon.
Yeah.
They're not Rantanen. You know what I mean? And so I think there's a bright future with the Wings. It's just, as a fan, it's a little bit of a bummer that if you really want to be realistic with yourself, it's like this is a 5-year game plan. And I don't think Yzerman's job's on the line personally, just because I feel like he has a little bit of immunity because of who he is. But if there's a little more concrete plan with certain names, certain numbers, certain salary caps, he doesn't tell the media that. But you think in a one-on-one with the Illich family, he doesn't go, I want X, Y, Z to happen, and I'm going to do A, B, C to make it happen. And they go, holy crap, this guy is 10 steps ahead. It's like people in the stock market. They don't make money buying Apple. Everyone knows Apple's good.
Right.
You got to buy the thing that's not there yet. You got to buy Apple in 1998. Then you're rich. You don't buy Apple in 2025. Everyone knows.
Right.
Anyways, didn't mean to. Sorry, poor Eli. We've just been running over you here. Do we want to do anything more on Todd other than, did we say live on the pod he was the assistant coach in 2008, won a cup with the Red Wings?
I don't know if we did or not, but
I know we had talked about it, but just now that we're recording, it's like they didn't even mention that he won a cup with the Wings. It's cool to see his coaching career began with the NHL. His NHL coaching career started with the Red Wings. I think 05 maybe. I can't remember now.
Yeah.
And then wins a cup, immediately gets a promotion to be a head coach with the Sharks. June of 2008, he was announced their head coach. So, I mean, it was right after the cup. I didn't remember that. Yeah. So, you can't blame him. But he has a fairly impressive resume. Obviously, the Sharks back then never got over the hump, but they were so good. And the Oilers, I think he might have been there when they were in the doldrums a little bit. But he won a World Juniors with Canada. Where did I read that? 2015 World Championship with Canada. It was the first time they won since 07. So from 07 to 14, the 7 years in a row, the Canadians didn't win, which is kind of surprising. I mean, I know obviously Russia and Czech and Sweden, but they had a perfect 10-0 record. So he has coached incredibly high talent. He has coached very, very, very good teams, and I think has a winning culture everywhere he's been as a coach for the most part. I don't remember how good the Oilers were when he was there. He was in Edmonton 15-19. They were struggling. That was McDavid's early years, right?
Yeah, I think they made a couple of playoff appearances, but they weren't what they are.
Yeah, they weren't anything really to talk about. And the Kings, to be honest, they weren't good, but like right now, they're surprising everyone. I think that he took a Kings that everyone was sleeping on, formed a team that's defensively strong, can quickly counter, and that's basically how the Blues won the Stanley Cup. They'd have 6 goalies and just turtle shell around the net and play the whole game like they were on the penalty kill.
Yeah.
And then Marchand makes one mistake and bam, it's in the back of your net. I mean, I don't think the Wings are going to win the Stanley Cup, but you look at the Kings that basically aren't good. And the only reason they lose in the first round is they have to play Edmonton, who's an absolute wagon. So it's like he knows how to take an underperforming team and create a system that they're going to be competitive. And if the Wings got matched up against Boston in round 1, maybe there's a miracle they could squeak by. I think if you play Panthers in round 1, you're pretty much going home. But they should be competitive. Red Wings should be right on the bubble, and there's a lot of season left. They're not quite halfway. Maybe
they could make the playoffs as a wild card. Yeah, we might get waxed in the playoffs, but these guys are going to have playoff experience.
Yep.
And we're playing with house money. They know they're not expected to win, so you can play a little looser, take a little more, some more chances. One of the other things I was going to mention that I kind of slipped my mind earlier with Yzerman was, there was all this talk of Joel Quenneville being the next coach in Detroit. I never bought into that because I felt like Joel Quenneville wanted too much control of the team. Yzerman's not giving up the decision making. He's the general manager. He's hiring a coach to coach. And another thing that you kind of hear about too is when teams, and this is in any sport, we got to fire the coach. Okay, great. Who you gonna get?
Right.
So I do believe that maybe Lalonde was kind of a lame duck coach for a while, and Yzerman was just trying to figure out, okay, who am I going to bring in? You can't just fire him and say, all right, well,
Right.
just whoever. You had to have a plan. And so Yzerman, I bet, has been talking to Todd McClellan for a month at
Probably.
least. And I don't know all the behind the scenes stuff, but the way Yzerman is though, with being so methodical and deliberate with his stuff, um, he probably knew 2 months ago, okay, if by Christmas we're not in a better position, I'm bringing someone else in. Who's out there? Who can
Yeah.
I? And then you start, kicking the tires on some of these other guys and just looking into it, because you can't just say, all right, we're going to fire the coach, and then, well, now what? Okay, I guess name an assistant coach the head coach, and then be like, well, I'm still looking for a head coach, and because now the assistant coach is like, wait, what am I?
Yeah,
You're
I
putting
thought I
him in
was.
a
That's what the Blues did, and it's a
right.
bit awkward.
Yeah. So, I think that it was kind of in the works. This wasn't just we got to this point and Yzerman knee-jerk reaction.
Right.
The team was they weren't getting any better. And I bet probably around Halloween or something, it was, all right, listen, if our team's not here by Thanksgiving or Christmas, I need to make a move. Like you said, he's going into these meetings talking to the Illich family, like, here's where I want to be, this is how I want to get there, and if we're not there, here's what I'm going to do. So
Right.
I don't think this was a knee-jerk reaction move by Yzerman. I don't think it really caught him off guard per se. But yeah, I mean, it was something that had to be done, and I'm sure that he had a plan in place, a contingency plan, plan A, plan B. He's got it, I'm sure, lined out way more than what we realize, just being little scrubs on a podcast here.
On the podcast, right? Exactly. And it is funny to think, that it's like, oh, why didn't we do that? We should have done that after the loss against whoever or whatever. It's like there is probably lots of business meetings going on in the background. And I heard somebody, I want to say it was 32 podcasts, talking about the stuff with Truba. I think I already said this.
Mm.
And then also the stuff with Swayman. It's like, now you see why when I call or anyone in the media calls and Lou Lamoriello and Steve Yzerman just lock it up and you can't get one darn story out of Detroit. It's like, well, now you see why. Because who wants to deal with the Twitter nightmare of, I heard JT Miller doesn't like his same cereal that Elias Pettersson eats. And it's like, oh my goodness. Which, let's transition into that to head towards studs and scrubs, by the way. If you were to dissect that little thing, I'm sure you've heard, right? They don't like each other, and that you said, my sister's pretty and all this, and I'm going to fight you, and whatever else they're making up over there in Vancouver, because allegedly JT Miller came on, not allegedly, he came on an interview and was like, this has been invented in the media, it's not true. And then other people are like, it is true. So now it's awkward. But people were talking about, is it so bad? Like, not that they just kind of don't get along. Like, they hate each other. They won't pass each other the puck. They can't be on the same ice together. I won't get on the bus with this guy. Like, you got to trade somebody. So if that's even true, who would you trade? Because I thought it was black and white, and apparently I'm crazy. So
who would you trade between you? Would you either trade
who would you
JT
rather have
Miller
on
or
your team?
Pettersson?
I guess. Yeah, if you're in Vancouver spot and they said, "I'm not coming to the rink anymore. Send me down to the KHL. I'm out." Now you got to pick a guy. So who could you get the return, et cetera, for, let's not talk about their contracts and money. Just like,
yeah, I don't.
What would you do?
That's a good question. My initial thought was whoever I can get more for in return. But I don't know who that would be. Who would I want to keep? Oh man.
And you too, Eli. If you've got an answer,
Yeah,
run in here.
This is a tough one.
And I don't know how old they are. if they're similar in age, or if one's 34 and the other one's 26.
Right,
Obviously,
that could be right. Let me
um,
get that. Pettersson's age is 26. I think Miller's older.
yeah.
So Miller's 31, Pettersson's 26.
So
that
not
could be a factor.
not terrible, but yeah, I might just keep. I don't. I'll say Pettersson, but it's kind of a flip of a coin, really. I guess.
What are you thinking, Eli?
I think I would keep Pettersson.
Who are you
Okay.
going with?
I'm going to go with Pettersson, but I'm going to disagree slightly. I think everyone is a lunatic who would even debate this. JT Miller is a hard-nosed, fiery player who can turn it on and get 30, maybe even 40 goals. He's a great guy. But I think as his career age a little bit, he is the guy that you want in the playoffs battling. However, Pettersson, he got 120 points. Pettersson's only 26 years old. He maybe doesn't play well because he's a little bit soft and he's sensitive to the media, and now he's publicly shamed by JT Miller. He's a mean bully from the U.S., and I'm just a soft little Swedish guy. I don't care. You make him happy. You've had two soft little Swedish guys that were some of the best players that ever came through the league. And Pettersson is so much better than JT Miller. You guys you're smoking the expensive stuff, because that is crazy to me to think. No offense, but okay, do I want Ovechkin or Tom Wilson?
Yeah.
No offense to Tom Wilson.
Yeah.
But you're crazy. And it's like, he's younger than Matthews. He's younger than Brock Besser. He's younger than Kaprizov. Like, you got 2-3 years to be like, Miller, if you're causing problems, get out. And maybe I'm mean because I don't want to say somebody's name, that it's a sensitive time in their life. But there's a goalie that everyone loved, and how brutally honest he was and how talented he was. And he had some difficult things in his life. You know who I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And all I sat there and I said, this dude makes drama everywhere he goes. And 4 years later, he's out of the league. And I mean, you got a hard personal life. I'm not trying to judge someone, but it's like, sometimes that locker room noise needs to go.
Yeah.
And if in your locker room, the problem is the superstar, you don't trade him away, in my opinion. Who in the heck could you get for Pettersson that makes your team better when the GMs know that you're trying to get rid of him?
Right. Yeah.
So it's like, to me, JT Miller, they will pay a premium, even if that might be true, where, you got to move someone, there's drama in your locker room. If I'm the Avalanche or the Golden Knights, or maybe the big wussy Rangers that already had him, that are a bunch of wimps, that are terrible at hockey, and Shesterkin bails them out of every single game, maybe you need Miller to come in there, and he's not trying to rough up the other guys. He's in your face going, Zibanejad, you are terrible at hockey. Go score or stay at home, because I'm not dealing with it.
Yeah.
That is those teams will go out there and they'll pay.
He's still very talented. So you still have an asset that you can move, and you would get a decent return for him.
Decent return.
I could honestly almost see the Lightning taking him back. You're down there, you get into a first round battle with the Panthers.
Who's going to deal with Tkachuk, with Bennett, with...
Right. So you don't have Patty Maroon anymore. You don't have Miller on the team. I mean,
and JT
not saying there's not guys on there.
He's a tiny bit insane, right? He'll go down there and just punch Sam Reinhart right in the teeth for shift and say, let's go. Yeah. You're going to stand in front of my net and tip in a goal? Maybe. Maybe not.
But so that is interesting. Be interesting to watch.
So, yeah, anyways, I just thought of that. I heard all this drama, and people were like, oh, no, but, when it comes to playoff time, Petey disappears. I'm like, they've only been in the playoffs twice. I mean, yes, you could say he disappears, but someone of that caliber, you still, it's the same thing with like a Marner. Marner disappears in the playoff. Who the heck are you going to trade Mitch Marner for and make your team better than it is?
Yeah.
There's no chance. Sorry that poor Todd McClellan Marner just ran the Red Wings show last night and got me a hat trick in fantasy, thank you. But he kind of wish he didn't because the Wings got embarrassed. But
yeah.
I don't know. I didn't watch every minute of the game. It looked like the Wings actually played pretty well, but they were losing 1-0 in 2 minutes. So
yeah.
it wasn't great. Okay, anyways, moving on from that, I guess we're all in agreement that you'd probably keep Pettersson even if it was just for his younger
I believe
age.
so,
We're at, 40 minutes? Want to get into some studs and scrubs? I know Eli's more prepared for that than probably you and I are.
Let's do it.
Okay, who wants to? Do you want to start us, Eli, or do you want me to grab one?
I'll start.
Good.
I'll start. Yeah. I'm gonna do a stud. So I added this guy yesterday.
Okay.
He had 2 goals and an assist. Dmitry Voronkov. I hope I'm saying. Plays for Columbus.
I'm not sure.
He plays for Columbus.
Uh-huh.
I have to update his stats. I believe in the last 6 games now, he has 5 goals, 5 assists, 2 power play points. He's playing line 1 and power play 1 in Columbus.
Dang.
And he is 19% rostered.
19%. That's a good find right there. How do you spell Dimitri?
Mitri, I believe.
Oh, well. I'm misspelling it. I can't get him to pop up here.
Can you just start do Voronkov?
Yeah.
Voronkov.
Voron?
Yeah.
N.
Yeah.
Is he not on there?
Oh, I know why. I'm stupid. It's not only can I not spell, but that's not the issue. I'm in my watch list only.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's some good air. That's some good television here. How do you spell that again?
Yeah.
Dmitry Voronkov. Man, yeah, he's killing it.
Yeah.
Nice. I like that one. 19% rostered, you said?
Yeah.
Nick, you got another one to go, or did you have more on him? Sorry.
I don't have much more, but
that's a good pick. Nick?
Yeah, I'll give you a stud here. Recently been kind of a stud. Someone to just kind of take a gamble on. Cam Fowler got traded to the Blues. New team. He's top pairing, and he's playing on power play 1. He just had 3 points the other night. He's only 11% rostered. I don't know how people are fixed for defensemen. Sometimes they're kind of hard to find. This guy, we're talking a guy that's 11% rostered, and he's on the top pairing and top power play. So, not saying he's going to be a stud for you all year, but if you're in need of another defenseman that's just going to get opportunity and some playing time, he might be someone to look at.
That's a good pick.
But yeah,
I like that pick because I had that also. I had him specifically because I don't know if you remember, but we talked about this last week. To someone to keep an eye on.
Yeah.
New teams, Trouba, Fowler. Some of these guys got traded. Capo Caco. Keep them on your radar. And then we were joking at the end. I can't remember who it was, but we had 2 or 3 names that they were like, pick him up, not Fowler. Pick him up, not Fowler.
Yeah.
And then I learned Fowler goes out. First game with the Blues, I think, got an assist, and then gets a goal and 2 assists last game. And like you said, a lot of good opportunity. Power play 1, etc. And I can't remember. Did you say he's 11% rostered?
Last I looked, he was 11% rostered, yes.
Okay, so this is interesting. I don't know if it does this on our app. I noticed it on the desktop. 11% rostered, but then it says he's up 8% since last day. So since yesterday, he was only 3% rostered.
Yeah.
Now, of course, that's kind of a knee-jerk reaction to the goal and 2 assists, but the Blues are doing pretty well, and also sneaky. You can probably always have him in fantasy. Hoffer, they're doing kind of a Bennington Hoffer 1-2 punch, and both are playing really good this year.
Yeah.
Which isn't great for the USA and the 4 nations, I hate to say it because they'll probably go with Aiden Hill, but I think you got to throw Binnington in there with some of that Bugs Bunny juice and Michael's special water, whatever, and let them go. But that's not here nor there. So because you did Fowler, I'm going to specifically go with a center because I had a center out, and he keeps
Okay.
going in and out, in and out, in and out all season. Austin Matthews. So if you have some of these players that are kind of come and go with injury, sometimes you can pick up some pretty darn good people, even if you're just going to have them for 1 or 2 games. And Matthews is an easy one to pick on because he has some sort of injury he keeps aggravating. And so it's like he keeps being in the lineup. He's doing fine this year, but his numbers aren't what they normally are because he's only played 50% of the games. So I went to the not so undercover radar William Karlsson, Wild Bill. Wild Bill hasn't played super great this season for his standards, but he's only 22% rostered, and he is on a 5-game point streak. After going 3 with nothing, he got an assist, a goal, assist, assist. And he's steady in our league. He's getting 5 to 6 points every single game. He's a center only, so it's not that great. But I had Matthews go down, so I've got a lot of center wingers, so I didn't have to pick one up. But William Karlsson is definitely a solid center that you would normally think is a stud, but this year not so much. He's kind of on a heater right now. Vegas is absolutely loaded. They are just ripping through. I think they've only lost 8 games this year. Like anyone you can get for Vegas.
Yeah.
They're not going to get a lot of minuses. You know what I mean? Depending on how your league does points.
Right.
They're going to get opportunity shots on goal and maybe points. Like Karlsson's still a really good player to pick up. There's my stud.
Nice. I like it.
Eli, you got another one?
I can go with the scrub here.
Nice.
You have talked about him. You don't particularly like him on the podcast. Jake DeBrusk.
Poor guy. I've never met him, but he's just going to punch me one day. See me in the street. I know you.
Jake DeBrusk. So I had to update this. He had an assist last night, but in his last 7 games, he has 1 goal, 2 assists. He's 56% rostered.
Right.
He has no power play points his last 7 games. 3 points. He's playing line 1, power play 2 in Vancouver. He's playing on a line with Pettersson and a power play with Quinn Hughes. He should be putting up way more points.
Yeah.
Thank you. No offense, Jake. I'm sorry, but in fantasy.
And you've talked about Ovechkin, and Daily Faceoff is listed as power play 1 and 2. Well, last night so was Quinn Hughes, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah. That is interesting. I don't know if there's any defensemen that are ranked. I wonder if Makar is.
He'd be my only other guess.
You know what? I heard some people talking about Quinn Hughes is such a good skater that he's producing a lot of the offense, and it buys you time when you can move that well. Because with Makar, it's a little different because he's deadly, but you got McKinnon and Rantanen to deal with. So it's like you kind of have to guard them so much that it's a different thing. In Vancouver, even if Pettersson's not scoring and Miller was out for personal reasons and Jake DeBrusk is basically useless, if your wingers try to pinch up and play close on Quinn Hughes to lock him down, he is so much faster and better than you. He'll just walk right around you. And now you're just a pylon drifting out towards center and it's a 5-on-3. And so it forces the wingers to stay towards their own goalie. And you just create chaos in front of the net because he's that good that the threat of ending up on Sports Center looking like an idiot, it's the Datsuk effect. You back up off of them and give them more time with the puck because you're so afraid of getting turned inside out. And I was like, that's pretty interesting to see how good they are. And, those players, Lindstrom would do it too, they can go right on the blue line. So they're maximizing their space. They're taking away 7 or 8 more inches than anyone else in the league is. Because they're so talented that they can get way up there, dive in, come back. So interesting that Quinn Hughes plays on both. Nick, do you have a stud and scrub locked and loaded?
Okay, so I'm going to. I I don't know if you want to classify more of a stud than a scrub here, but I do want to touch on Dylan Strom because something I said last month when Ovechkin got hurt. Strom at the time, I think it assisted on like all of Ovechkin's goals or something crazy, and he was ranked 19th in our league on November 22nd. And I said to kind of sit on him, let's see how he does in a month, where he ends up. Maybe someone's going to drop him, maybe someone's going to trade for him, something. In our league, he is still rostered. He is not available. He's currently ranked 55th. Ovechkin's slated to come back today. So I think Dylan Strom, even if Ovechkin doesn't miss that month, I don't know that Strom goes up anymore. I think, maybe he would kind of have plateaued. But without a month without Ovechkin and he dips 20, 25 spots, I'm not too worried about that. I think he's pretty well established as their top line center. He's getting power play time there. He's dishing it out. Now with Ovechkin coming back, you might be a little late on trying to trade for him, but he is only rostered in 80% of leagues. So that means that he's out there in 20% of leagues. I think he might be a center only, and it might be one of those situations where I think you've mentioned before, there's going to be leagues that only have 6 teams or whatever. So he's not, your top center guy. But I would say if he's available and you got a spot, make room for Dylan Strom, because I think, especially now with Ovechkin coming back, that he's really going to pick it up. And I could see him, he's 55th now. I could see him going back up in the top 30, pretty soon with Ovechkin being back. So I don't know, he's not quite like off the radar as far as being a stud or a scrub, but just I kind of wanted to touch on that because I know last month I had mentioned about keeping an eye on him. And so if he's available, he's out there, I certainly would scoop him up. But that's just going to probably depend on how many teams are in your league and the setup of your league. But
no,
that's go get Dylan Strom.
I like that because, you circle back on what we talked about a month ago, but then also just in general, those are the things that like help you in fantasy where you don't have to watch hockey all the time or know a lot. And same thing with any sport. You can do fantasy football and don't even know the rules of football. But it just helps you when you're a little more in tune to it, that you can go, okay, if I look at Dylan Strom and research, he went from 19 to 50, and this guy's bad. If you watch a lot of hockey or you're up on the news, just as a casual fan, a little more than a casual fan, right? It's because the diehard hockey fans, they forget that a lot of the people that call themselves hockey fans, like, they don't know the rules. They don't even know all the team names. They just know Crosby and Ovechkin and McDavid. Like, they're a fan kind of once it's playoffs, right? And so those people maybe don't know, or if you're new to fantasy, those little things help a lot where it's like Ovechkin returns to the lineup. All of Strom's assists were his goals. So just by him existing is going to go up. Now, maybe it's not as good as it was at the beginning of the year, but it's still a threat. You have no choice but to guard Ovechkin. So now Strom has 1 or 2 more seconds extra time on the ice to maybe pass to McMichael or to shoot it himself. If you're in a league that goes off shots, there's all sorts of advantages that come when a superstar comes back to the lineup. Even if you have the superstar, you have a guy that plays with him. I'll go with a stud again because I don't have a scrub ready, but it's piggybacking off of the scrub. I'm going to go with maybe I said him last week. Did I say Teravainen last week? Tino, I think I did.
I think so.
I'll skip that, but okay, so maybe not. But Teravainen is only in 20% rostered, and he was 15 yesterday. 15%. So drop Jake DeBrusk, who's in 60% of leagues because of he's got a bigger name, and go get Teravainen because the past 3 games, or the past 2 games, he's been bad, but he went 5 games in a row with 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 points in 4 games. And the Blackhawks don't look now. They're in last place, but they look okay. So we said that last week, though. So not to repeat myself too much, Kesselring out Burns out. Devon Taves out. Luke Hughes is in. Luke Hughes is my stud. And I know you think of the studs because of Jack and Quinn, but Luke really is young and wasn't getting the points. He's an okay player, but he wasn't getting the points in fantasy. But recently, he's had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 points in 6 games as a defenseman with 2 goals and 6 assists. So he's tearing it up. His past 10 games before that, he kind of hot and cold. He's on a hot streak right now. He had a long stretch at the beginning of the year, middle of the year. I'm looking October 30th till November 21st. He only had 1 point. So right now he's on a hot streak, and he was on a cold streak. So he's in 52% of leagues, but he went up 10% just since yesterday. So if he's available, grab him before he stays hot. The Devils are really good. This might be a good time to add him to your team for free. And then whether you got him low or you want to trade later, do trade deadline in your league, maybe get some more offensive power for somebody needs a D goes down, et cetera, et cetera. Now's the time to pick him up for free. Go get him.
Nice. Eli?
I'll do I kind of have 3 studs here.
Oh,
For the
because I
same reason.
had 7 people, so
They all play on the same line, which is why
Whoa,
I'm picking. So Montreal has not been great.
Right.
And you wouldn't think that their fourth line would be any good. But I was looking at this guy, Jake Evans.
Okay.
He centers the fourth line in Montreal. Last 9 games, he has 9 points. 4 goals, 5 assists. No power play points. And he's been doing really well. He's only 2% rostered in Yahoo Fantasy Leagues. And then I was looking at the rest of his line. So there's this guy, I hope I say this right, Emil Heineman, I think.
Okay.
He plays also line 4 and power play 2. His last 6, he has 2 goals, 4 assists. No power play points. Then there's this guy, the other winger, Joel Armia, I believe.
Yep.
Last 6 games, 3 goals, 2 assists. Both of those wingers are 0% rostered.
Wow.
So they would be good guys to watch. No one is thinking about picking up Montreal's fourth line players, but they've been doing surprisingly well. It kind of shocked me.
That does shock me. That's a good find. And I'll tell you what, I wonder if it goes into my overall theory, whether you're a borderline guy who got cut or a borderline guy who made the team. Joel Armia made Team Finland, I'm pretty positive. And some people were saying, Kakoniemi's not on the team and Armia is? Well, that's trash. Well, if you're only playing 12 minutes a night and you're getting more points than most of the people on a struggling Canadians, 0% rostered in fantasy, that's a really good find. And that I like that the whole I didn't realize the whole line, because you would think looking at their roster the big names would go, and Line A's been tearing it up since he came back, but that's a good find. I like that, because somebody's got to score, right? Even if your team's terrible, like Celebrini's probably still good in fantasy. It's like even if your team loses most of their games, somebody scored, right? You got to have at least one dude putting the puck in the net. And a big thing with fantasy is, if you got somebody who's hurt and injured and it's short term, like these Matthews ones, you don't need to have Armia on your team the whole year. Just have him for 3 games. Next week, he might be terrible again. So those are really good players to find. Good job, Eli, with your research, because those, I guarantee you, Brent Gallagher is rostered in like half the leagues, and he's not doing anything.
Yeah.
So it's like you got to find those guys that are hot today.
Very nice. I'm going to piggyback off this injury talk here a little bit. Can you look up Trevor Moore?
Yes.
For me?
Gallagher is only in 1% of leagues, rightfully so. But no, I mean, he's got 9 goals. He's fine. Sorry, who am I looking at?
Trevor Moore.
Trevor Moore.
I think right now he's listed as IR.
He's listed as IR right now. Yep.
I don't know if he's just going on that, coming off of it, or what. He's someone that I think I've had on my team this year,
Mm-hmm.
who's been a decent winger. He gets top six forward, top two line playing time. I think he was on the Kings power play. Um, and I'm just going to throw this out here, depending on how your league is. And I hate it because this is how I've won sometimes. The loopholes, right? uh,
Write that down, Eli.
use
Write that down.
use your IR spots to your advantage. Especially look at your settings. I don't know honestly, I'm not sure what my settings are right now. I believe you can add players directly to the IR slot in our league.
I think you can in our league, yes.
And if you can't, then whenever you go to make a move, whenever you drop a player to pick someone else up, pick someone else up on the IR first, move them to your IR, and then pick up a guy that's going to play. Stash Trevor Moore if you can. He's a serviceable guy. It's going to cost you nothing. Add him to especially if we're recording this on a Saturday. If you have, so our league is you get 5 moves a week. All right, if I haven't made a single move and I'm going to lose or I'm going to win this week, and I don't need to use those ads for this week's matchup, then use them for future weeks. It's essentially you're adding a player that gives you a free move next week. Say this guy
Right.
comes off the thing, comes off of IR, and you have a Joel Armia that you can just drop.
You can
Okay,
drop.
well
You got Rusk.
now you've added someone, yeah, or Jake DeBrusk. Now you've added someone without using an ad. Or
Right.
let's say you have an Austin Matthews who's in and out of your lineup. Okay, this guy comes back. Maybe you have 2 guys that are kind of in and out, listed as out. We have in our league 2 IR plus spots. That means those guys do not have to be on the IR to be on. They can just be out, like an Austin Matthews. Slide them over to that IR plus spot, and then you can take Trevor Moore off. Now, I know some people, you'll get kind of in a pinch where, okay, Trevor Moore is healthy, but he's still on your IR, and there's someone else that you want to add. Well, now you're going to have to drop Trevor Moore or someone else to free up that spot. Yahoo's not going to allow you to just keep a healthy guy on your IR.
Right.
Fine. Then just drop him. But use these IR plus spots and IR slots to your advantage. Stash some guys that maybe are hurt, that are going to come back, or that are just kind of listed as out, especially towards the end of the week. Like this week, if you got some ads available, go stash someone. My goodness, there's always players that are out, even maybe longer term. And I'm not saying you're going to always keep them on your roster, but, I think Evander Kane is on IR right now.
Yep.
Okay, if he comes back in February, great. And it's not costing you anything right now. Stash these guys, add them to your roster, just hang on to them, just see what they do. Worst
You never
case, you're
know.
just going to drop them.
I got Drew Doughty stashed right now because
Yeah.
somebody else stashed him. They had too many players hurt. I think they had 3 or 4 people hurt. They said I got to get rid of him. At the time, I had no one hurt, and I
Right.
believe you're right in our league. I think that it's not default. I think you changed it for us. You just grab him directly into IR, and he's been sitting there. There's been 1 or 2 nights that I've had 3 people hurt, and I said, "Oh, I need that spot." I keep him. I've kept him so
Yeah.
far. He's such a good player. He's worth it. That a Trevor Moore, maybe it's more of a, but Evander Kane,
Right.
I would say a Drew Doughty, some of those big name guys. It's like maybe
Especially if you have an available slot. Like, yeah, Trevor
maybe
Moore might
Landis
not be someone.
maybe.
Right now on my IR, I got Tyler Sagan and Alex Ovechkin.
Yeah,
Ovechkin's coming
Sagan's a
back
good one.
today.
That's a good one.
I'm not dropping Trevor Moore for any of those guys, but hey, Ovi comes back healthy. I free up an IR spot. I'm going to go pick someone else up.
Yep.
Now, I already made a move today, so Ovechkin's just going to be sitting on my thing because I'm down 30 points. I don't really see myself kind of digging out of that hole in the next 2 days, so I'm going to leave him there. But Ovechkin has a game tomorrow, and then I can drop the goalie that I just plugged and played today. I can get Ovechkin off my IR, and then as long as this episode doesn't drop tonight and everyone has my secrets, or Eli does it. But then tomorrow, guess what? I'll probably pick up Trevor Moore or someone else that's on my IR just to stash them, just to have down the road. Like I said, worst case, you drop them later down the road. But this is essentially a loophole, a free ad, another free roster spot, and call it whatever you want. But everyone can do this.
Right. It's a good one.
It's not like I'm the only one in my league because I'm commissioner. I've set up my own little loophole. This loophole is there for everybody.
I like that though. That is a
Use it.
good advice. Use it. Everyone use it. And Trevor Moore is a very good, a low rostered person too. I feel like.
He's a decent player to just
Yep.
stash and see what happens.
Yes.
So
Love that.
anyway, that was my
No, that was a good one though
little take
because
on that.
people don't think of stuff like that, and I know that you hate giving some of your advice out there for our own me and Eli to go,
Right.
good, nice. We're playing you next week. Oh, the real reason, by the way, our Christmas special is coming out late isn't because we wanted to drop a Christmas New Year's special. It's because we delayed recording 1 week because Nick and I played each other. And he was so embarrassed that I just dunked him under the water that he refused to record.
Oh man. It's not been a good few weeks. I'm probably going to lose this week too. I'm down 30 going into Saturday's games with essentially the same number of games as my opponent. So I'm kind of a bubble team. I'm like the Red Wings.
Hey, but you know what? Sometimes that's where you do these Trevor Moore type moves, like you said. If you know there's a low chance of you winning this week, burn up your ads for next
Well,
week
this is the
or for
time.
long term.
Exactly.
Make some moves for the long term because we got a
Right.
lot of the year
Don't
left.
just think this week or, be thinking about, okay, and you can really deep dive and you can count how many games a certain team's going to have next week and look ahead at who your opponent is and whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but really, if you just look at how can I best use the ads this week, um, and tomorrow I might be even farther in the hole. I might be 50 points down tomorrow. Who knows? But
Yep.
then that's when, okay, there's no point in trying to make a move for this week, but let me make a move to position myself for next week.
Yep.
And so you have to look at those. It might not always work out, but if you can do that and help yourself out an extra 2 or 3 weeks down
Yep.
the road, then it's worth it. It's something to for sure keep an eye on.
100%. And those are the people that it's like, you know what, I'm losing this week. I'm going to try it. If it doesn't pan out, you got to know when to cut bait. Drop
Yeah.
them. You got Michael Backlund, Kyle Palmieri. I'm looking at some guy. There's decent players out there, Jaden Schwartz, in most leagues that are
Yeah.
some big name, some are not big name, like Eli's pulling people 0% rostered. It's like there's players out there that are going to be in the 20 goal scorer range. There's a lot of them. You don't get buckled in on like Jake DeBrusk is a solid player. He's going to get 18 to 25 goals. So is Kyle Palmieri. Like there's guys out there that just add and drop, add and drop. You need more plays. You need more games than the other guy generally to get the W.
Yeah.
So anyone else want to do? Eli, you got more studs and scrubs? Did we want to do your?
I could do a scrub.
Let me just do since that one wasn't really anything other than a little loophole.
A little loophole. We got a few more. We can go for a while on these if you guys want to. I
got a scrub here for you. Brent Burns. You've already mentioned it. This guy has been in previous years. He's been a first round pick. Myself being guilty of that. Now, when he was with the Sharks, he was worth it.
I'm still here. My camera's messed up. Sorry. Yeah, we'll keep going with Burns. Sorry.
Okay. I didn't see you anymore, so I wanted to make sure we're still good. So Brent Burns is rostered in 52% of the leagues. His stats for the year are 3 goals, 8 assists. He's a -2. He's got 74 shots. How do you have 74 shots on goal and only 3 of them go in? It blows my mind. He's on top pairing and power play 2, and these are his stats. 11 points in the 3 months that he's been playing. I don't know that you might be able to get a return on him if you try to trade him, just because of his name. But gut bait, he's not been great. Yes, he's got the shots, he's got the blocks. But he's not who he was. He's a scrub. He's not going to be one of your core players anymore, unfortunately. And he's on Carolina. They just play a different system. When he's with the Sharks, they gave him a longer leash. Hey, go out and do what you do, which wasn't playing defense, by the way. Um, and now the Hurricanes are just a more disciplined team, more defensive team, I think. And so he's not, he doesn't have that leash and that leeway. But Brent Burns, cut bait, go get a Cam Fowler. Someone else. I'm just saying that you don't need to hang on to him just because of the name. I think a lot of times, myself included, I get hung up on the name of the player or maybe where I drafted someone, and I think, well, I drafted him in this round. I can't get rid of him. He's going to be, he's going to turn it around. At this point, he'd be lucky to get 30 points on the year, and there's probably guys out there that you can go find defensively that'll get you more fantasy points than what Burns will. So Burns, scrub. Sorry, man. I love you, but
Yep, I'm with you. I'm with you. That's a good one.
You have someone else?
Yeah, I got a scrub mostly because I had him and he disappointed me beyond any disappointment I could have imagined. Jeff Skinner.
Oh,
31% rostered.
Wow.
1 goal in his last 7 games. And he's playing line 4, power play 2 in Edmonton.
And I feel like he might have started the year on line 2. Question mark?
Like at the beginning of the year, I was expecting him to, go from Buffalo to Edmonton, where he's going to play with a team with a lot more depth, maybe get a little power play time or higher, line time, do better. Big disappointment. And now he's dropped. He's playing line 4. I mean, the power play 2 is not that bad in Edmonton, but I don't know how much time they're getting on the power play.
Right. If power play 1 keeps scoring, power play 2 is never out there.
Well, Nugent Hopkins is not scoring power play 1, so.
No, he's not. And the other day, speaking of the Nuge, because he's a fantasy disappointment also, but he's doing way better since you and I did that trade. He's okay. And I think, Nick, you were breaking down that it was like how much time he plays per night, how many shots on goal, and the power play. It's like it's impossible to go the whole year without points. So the Nuge has been slowly coming back. But you look at Hyman scoring whatever 50 or 60 goals or whatever. The Nuge got 100 points or 110 points. Like there's some big point drop-offs that the Oilers are doing okay now. They've turned the ship around a little bit. McDavid, for his standards, was well below normal. I don't know if it's a hangover from the cup or it's just sort of some sort of depression, right? Where it's like you just want to be Game 7 again. You want a chance at the cup again. And you're in October going, we gotta win for 7 months.
Yeah.
Like, and sure, there's a human element to it where you think I'm ready to go, and it's like you're not playing the way you were last year. But all that to say is, you add Jeff Skinner, who's famous for playing all these games and not going to the playoffs, and Buffalo sucks, and that's the only reason that he's not, he's underappreciated because it's Buffalo. You're a 30-goal scorer. He's a 45-goal scorer, I think.
Yeah.
His career high. Put him out there. Hyman's getting 60 with the Nuge is 100. Draisaitl's 100. McDavid's 100. Like, Jeff Skinner is going to score 60 goals.
Yeah.
He's putting up 3. It's like...
It's almost as bad as saying Bertuzzi's going to get 90 points.
Almost. No, you know what? I will say, though, that my take of Bertuzzi 90 points is the worst take that we've had yet. But I feel like Jeff Skinner might be the gold medal for the biggest fantasy disappointment.
It was the worst pick in the draft, for sure.
And I think...
Well, I take that back. I took him like round 7. I take that back. I think Zach Hyman was taken early 2nd round, maybe.
And
that's a pretty bad pick.
And really, it's just like, because you're not alone. I think pretty much everyone thought, okay, Skinner's basically locked up for 30 goals. There's a chance at 50 with those guys on his team.
Yeah.
And it's like, he's got to be the biggest fantasy disappointment. out of everyone in the league. I don't know. We'd have to do a little more research, but he's got to be number one fantasy disappointment across all leagues.
Up there for sure.
Yes. Were there others that you guys were ready to go? Was it my turn? I don't know if I had anyone.
I don't have any more.
Okay. Did we want to move on to your topic, Nick?
Yeah, so we can spend a little time on this.
Hold on. Should I throw a knuckle puck your way?
Oh, okay. Hit me with a knuckle puck.
Only because I didn't mention in the outline or anything, not that we're super organized, that I would do this. So
is this what you sent me a message about earlier?
No, it's not. I can't remember. What
okay.
Oh.
About how many pucks?
No, but this is straight up stolen from a question.
If that's off topic.
No, it is off topic, but it's very short. Okay. There, what's Elliot Friedman? This
32
thoughts. So that is like that podcast is big because it's like it's part of the TV thing, Sportsnet in Canada, right? So they got like endless money. It's like sponsored by them, and so they have a thing called the Thought Line, I think. People email in questions, like kind of like what we want to do, but it's like a nationally broadcast. It's the guys. So the people in Canada, they're on Hockey Night in Canada, right? So they're asking questions all the time. So it's pretty interesting. People ask all sorts of stuff, and a lot of them are like big hockey fans that they want really specific rules answered. So it's pretty interesting. They said one was about the pucks, replacing them. And so I can't remember his name. The co-host is new, Kyle Bukauskas, I think. Anyways, he's reading it. He says that he spoke to a referee and that they won't change the puck in the offensive zone. They'll do it in neutral zone. Then I guess he got a call from a referee that was like, you guys got it wrong on the podcast. Like, we won't never change it in the offensive zone, which is how they presented it. Even if it was like dinged up or marked or whatever, they said, people are used to the feel of the puck. We're not going to give a new one. And the ref kind of said the opposite. He said, no. If the puck's compromised in any way, we won't drop it. If it's got a chip or anything like that, we're always going to get a new puck. Similar to baseball, you see them, it touches the dirt, get that out of here. I need a new ball. And for any reason, the catcher all the time, right? Give me a new ball. Give me a new ball. Okay, so here's your trivia. That in a regular game, not like the puck went into the stands and they have to go get a new puck, but just like, okay, maybe it's a little dinged up or the edges are messed up or it got a chip, swap it out. Okay, you watch hockey your whole life. How frequently do you think that they switch a puck? Didn't go out of play. Just the ref just says, give me a new one.
See, I understand the whole, if the puck's compromised, you got to switch it out. If it's, hits the post, gets dinged up, guy hits it, the small chunk goes missing or something crazy, whatever. But I feel like whatever number I say is going to be way under.
I also like that.
Because you don't notice it. The only time you really notice them changing a puck is if it goes out of play or
out of play,
something like that.
Right. And I might have a little crazy because I'm being dramatic here. I don't have an exact number or an average. Okay. The referee told the podcast on average about like per minutes they'll switch it. They'll switch. Okay, this much went off the clock. Let's go ahead and grab a new one. Like they'll just kind of.
See, in my head, I'm thinking only they might go through 15 a game.
That's what I was thinking.
15 a game.
So 5 a period.
That's like every 4 minutes.
That's pretty close, actually, because he said on average, every 3 minutes of game clock, the puck's out.
Okay.
So like 20.
Yeah, so I was like, oh, wow, that is way more than I ever would have thought. Just like you said, I've watched my whole life, and I have been to games, as you have, where they keep them at the NHL level. They have like a freezer in the penalty box, right?
So they would have it somewhere in the
right. Yeah. Like when you play youth hockey, you kind of grab 5 pucks and like, okay, there's no holes. we're going to get the best ones we can, but like, unless you play at a high level, expensive organization, they don't have game pucks and practice pucks.
Right.
Like, let's just get a puck that's good. If your coach is smart, he'll have a reserve of 5 or 10 that's like, don't practice with these. I want these for the game, but like, there's no guarantee he's going to get them back. I don't. So it was just surprising to me that it was like, I don't remember seeing them change them. So every 3 minutes of gameplay is a lot of pucks, I thought.
Well, here's probably why we
And
don't.
if they go out, they change them. I mean, you're talking probably 40 pucks a game.
Yeah. I think probably why we don't is because the refs and the linesmen, linesmen for sure, they got a couple in their pockets.
Yeah, for sure.
So, and then, if it's a televised game, hey, commercial break, the refs are skating over there, they're getting their drinks, they're in the ref circle by the officials, the score box or whatever. So maybe hey, I got a couple of bad ones, give me a couple of good ones, and then they're just exchanging them, putting them in their pocket. It's just, you don't see it. It's not as, noticeable as it is in baseball, just because baseball, you're watching the
you
got the
watch
pocket
them
full.
get out, and he's got those big pockets, right? They've got those man purse things.
Right.
They got
Yeah. So I think the pucks is probably just a little bit, and that ump is the only one with the baseball. It's the ones out on the field, he doesn't have
They
any.
don't
So
have
just
them.
one ump has the
And
balls.
it's kind of a thing in baseball, right? Like, oh, it got dirty. They'll throw those to the kids a lot, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Well, because it alters, you're pitching it. So if it's got a little scuff mark on it, guys used to do that, to alter the ball when they were pitching. So if it's got a little scuff mark on it, then the pitchers can manipulate it in such a way that it's to their advantage.
curves too much because they rip
Right.
a little bit on purpose or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
If
So
you ain't cheating, you ain't trying, right?
exactly. So it's a little harder to do that, I would say, with the hockey puck. But I mean, I get it. It clanks off the goalpost or something, and then you got a kind of a chunk missing. Well, now that puck weighs a little different. Maybe it's going to move a little different in the air because of that chunk being gone. So, but it's harder for players to
They round
manipulate the
off.
puck.
If you don't play much, like the edges of the puck are very straight line, even though it's a circle, and they got those little hash marks on them, right, to help you grip.
Yeah.
And they round in fairly quickly. When you're playing practice, you built our trophy and you worked at the rink for years now.
Yeah.
When they fly over the glass,
They
and
just get worn.
They're rounded like all the time. I probably played 50% of my life with rounded off pucks because you get a brand new one and it's like, ooh, kind of nice,
Yep. So,
but anyways, that was
interesting,
a little off topic, but I was very surprised as well that both of them on the podcast were saying, like, they're professional analysts that have been working with the NHL for years and never ever would have guessed that on average estimate 3 minutes of game clock.
Well, and that's the other thing too with hockey. Baseball, it's a pitch here, a pitch there. You're waiting. Yeah. I mean, it can be. You can have a hockey game where, hey, there's a whistle every 30 seconds, or you can go 7 minutes.
Yeah.
There's no whistle. Well, we're not changing the puck in the middle of a play. We're waiting till we're going to finish this play out. So,
and now you can watch for that if you, like you said, they're in the pockets. You're probably right. A TV timeout, they probably empty the pockets. Each guy gets 2, so it's like, okay, let's load up here. But that puck is for sure getting changed out when they go 5, 6, 7 minutes with no stoppage. That's getting all messed up. And of course, it does get torn up. Like, if you don't play, you don't realize like the amount of snow. Like, if you go to a game live and you've never been to a game live, people will come out on a TV break with shovels and they'll shovel off the snow. That is a professional ice hockey thing. When you play youth hockey, that is not a thing.
That doesn't happen.
When you're like under maybe 12 years old or whatever, you don't do the Zamboni at all. The whole game, all the way through high school, probably. Almost like somewhere in the teenage years, you maybe will get one. We used to get one after the second, not every period, and it was like they're so good and they're so strong. They rip up the ice, so they're ripping up the puck too. They do their tape all the time. If you ever watch the trainer, it's kind of interesting. If you go to a game live, watch the trainers have all their little they got those things for shoes that they fill with tape and Band-Aids and whatever. And it's really interesting to see how active they are. Rip off the tape, take the stick every, shift and crap like that. But anyways, I digress. But, you don't really think about it unless you go that it's like, well, duh, they're pros. They're making millions of dollars. The league is not the NFL, but it's worth billions of dollars.
Yeah.
They're not saving money like, hey, that puck costs $3. Don't lose that.
Right.
Slow down, get a new one.
And I don't know. More
obvious in baseball, right? Because it's like in the dirt, the ball becomes slippery.
Yeah.
Even if it's just a little bit. If I'm making $600 million to hit the ball over the fence,
right?
Give me a good ball.
Yeah. I would assume maybe the NHL, same thing, but just even watching games at my rink, or if you guys ever go somewhere and you're watching, icing call, perfect example. A lot of times, now sometimes they'll just chuck the puck down to the other end for, the icing or whatever. But a lot of times, especially like high school hockey, there's 2 refs. Eli plays high school hockey, so that's just what I'm watching a lot of lately. The one ref will already be down. He'll blow the whistle for the icing call. He'll get that puck. But if you're the team that iced it, you're not skating down to, you guys are already on the far end waiting for the faceoff. So that ref then picks up that puck. Now he just skates back to the blue line where he's got to post up. And the other ref is already waiting with his own puck.
He's got
for the next faceoff. So it's not even like they have to sling the puck all the way down. Sometimes they do. A player will just shoot the puck down to that ref that's on the far end. But if that ref has to get it from that end, he doesn't always skate it all the way back down to the other ref. The other ref just pulls the puck out of his pocket, and that's what they use. They just roll with that.
Yeah.
So
that's a good point, because even then, if you're not switching them all out, you might just mitigate the time used of that puck. We're going to use 2 unless they go over the glass. We might only use 3 or 4 pucks this game, where the pros are going to use 50. It's like, you still are like less ice time or less people using it. Swap them out, put that one in your pocket. Makes sense. That's kind of a logistics thing that I never really thought about. And especially playing goal, I would often, because, sometimes the ref's right there. It's a race. And that's icing. And you slide it over, he picks it up. And they would skate all the way down pretty often. Now that you say that, it's like it makes sense that the other dude's like, I'm good. I got one in my pocket.
Right.
I don't think ref pants always have pockets, which are, I'm almost positive, insulated. So I don't know if they keep it cold or they just don't freeze your leg. You're shoving frozen rubber in there, but it's like, interesting. They also have shin guards. Most of those pants have little small shin guards.
Okay.
They didn't used to. And people would wear them, but people wouldn't. And not to sound too mean, would bring my dad on here sometime to do the old stories. But he played youth hockey in the 60s and 70s. And he said, all the time, especially at the midget level, right? 18U, Eli's age. You don't like a call? The next time you clear it out of the zone or a penalty kill, it is a slap shot at the ref's head. I'm icing it. I'm just icing it.
Yeah.
And for sure, the almost dirtier is little ones. Just kind of like, I'm clearing the zone, and you just rip a wrister into their shins.
Yeah.
Nice call, Stripes. You'd be thrown out of the league nowadays. These poor refs have 12-year-olds terrorizing them.
Man.
Okay, so the curveball, the knuckle puck. The knuckle puck I was going to send your way, only because we didn't prepare for it, is we are almost halfway through. Since this is our Christmas New Year special, I figured we're coming into 2025. Let's do a pulse on the league, a little test.
All right.
I'm going to say who's in the playoffs right now.
Okay.
And if you think there's movement, do you think somebody who's out will be in? And if so, who's out? Okay. Since you don't have them in front of you, it might be a little hard, but I got the East Coast up right now in Maple Leafs, Panthers, Bruins. Then I'm going to go to the divisions. Devils, Capitals, Hurricanes. The wild cards as of today, December 28th, games are going on, are the Lightning and the Senators. So we got Leafs, Panthers, Bruins, Tampa, Ottawa, Devils, Capitals, Hurricanes. Who do you think is currently out that will be in? And I can get more names or see. What's that?
Rangers in, Senators out.
Rangers in, Senators out. Okay, I like that pick. Nick, what are you thinking? There's right now the Penguins are on the bubble, the Jackets are on the bubble. Canadians, Red Wings, and Sabres are embarrassingly far out, to be honest.
The Rangers are pretty far behind.
Rangers are pretty far behind. You're right on that, but I kind of agree with you. While Nick makes up
I
his
think they can
mind,
turn it around.
I feel like they can because I think that they're going to make more trades. And Shesterkin and Quick both have been bailing them out. They are getting outshot. It's so bad how big the gap is, but I have more faith in the Rangers than I have in the Senators.
Yeah, and I don't think the Rangers are done making moves. I could see them. Chris Kreider was a healthy scratch. I think he maybe gets moved. There was some chatter about them looking into Brady Tkachuk. I don't know if it's those guys, but the Rangers usually make some moves for the playoffs, so I could see them making some moves to get in there. Yeah, I mean, I could see the Rangers. I don't. I'll just say I don't see Ottawa making the playoffs. I do think they fall off. I think Tampa Bay stays in that wild card spot, or at least in a playoff spot. Now, whether they move up and another team from their division drops down or whatever, that's fine. But yeah, so I think, man, I don't see Ottawa being in there, and I do think the Rangers make a strong case. If it's not them, I could just see it being Pittsburgh, just because Crosby and Pittsburgh. I wouldn't be shocked if they make a move at the deadline. The team I would love to see in there, other than the Red Wings, would be Columbus. What a story that would be.
That would be amazing.
Yeah,
and you know what? They're not very far away. They're right
not.
there. Senators have 38. They're in. Jackets have 36.
Yeah.
One game. Now, the Senators have 2 less games played. But I'm going to agree with you guys. I think that would be a great story, and I feel like the Rangers making a push is definitely doable. The curveball I'll throw, just to say a different name, kind of like our Christmas movies. We all pick the same movie. We got to do something different. I think that the Lightning are not only going to make it, but they're going to leapfrog. They're going to be in the top 3.
Okay.
I think the Bruins will hold on, even though they've had a weird year. I think that maybe the Flyers will leapfrog the Penguins, and they will be the ones sneaking in. Sorry, Red Wings and Senators and Buffalo, we all crap the bed and fall out. And I don't think the Penguins – it's hard. I always think they're horrible, and then you look at it, and it's like, dang, they're good. It's just all live and breathed by the Crosby, and I don't know. I guess apparently Carlson might have been hurt. They were hiding. Is part of the reason he was so bad at the beginning of the year. And maybe he's better now. I mean, he's a million years old and doesn't play defense. Yeah. So it's like he's a pretty darn good winger, but he's not. It's the Brent Burns. They're not even defensemen at this point. So It's like, I don't know. Maybe the Flyers, just because Michkov is such a stud and Tortorella is such a psychopath, where you will block the shot or I will send you to Siberia. So it's like, they might be able to push it in there. I'm confident with the Lightning because they've only played 32 games and everyone else has played 36 or 37.
Yeah.
So it's
I do think the Lightning will make it. And just so you'll go Rangers, you're going Flyers.
Yeah.
You know what? I'll make my official answer the Columbus Blue Jackets.
Okay. I like it.
I think just having some stuff to play for, and no one expected them to be there. No one expected them to be in this position.
No one. And you know what's crazy, though, is the standings are so weird in the East. Like, the Bruins being in 3rd place in the Atlantic, and they're basically garbage, is like, because everyone else is so bad, they have been able to stay afloat because everyone's terrible. So It would be interesting to see the opposite of our preseason predictions. There's a chance you could get Leafs, Panthers, Lightning, and then it goes to Metro puts in 5.
Yeah.
And you could see Devils, Capitals, Hurricanes, Penguins, and Rangers, Jackets, Flyers.
Right. Yeah. Any of those teams.
And that would be a really interesting twist of fate where not only do 5 make it, but the Bruins fall out, the Senators fall out, and it stays. Yeah. So let's go. Same thing with the West. I'm going to read them. Right. Same thing. The top 3 Central. Jets, Wild, Avalanche. Pacific. Golden Knights, Oilers, Kings. The current wild card, both have 41 points, the Dallas Stars and the Vancouver Canucks. How do you guys think on that? The bubble teams are Utah and Calgary and the Blues.
Yeah.
The others are pretty bad. I mean, not to be mean, but the Sharks, Ducks, Hawks, and Predators are
Well,
pretty
at
miserable.
the beginning of the year, I did pick the Preds to do some.
Me too.
do
I
some
thought they were
damage.
making for
So,
sure going to make it. You never know with Saros, but
so
woo.
you know what? I'll pick Nashville. They're going to turn it around. They're going to make a run
They're
here,
going to do the 16-game
and
streak the
they
Oilers
are
Yes,
just
the
going to
U2
start
tour
playing.
again.
They're
Yeah.
going to do what the Oilers do.
So I think. Let me see here. Let's make this interesting. The Central, I think, is pretty locked with Winnipeg, Minnesota, Colorado. I think all those teams make it. Vegas, Edmonton make it. I think, man, Dallas, I think, is good enough to, and I like Jake Ottinger to kind of hold the fort down for them. The Blues are always just that team that is just annoyingly right there all the time.
It's because we lived so close and we're Red Wings fans. I just hate that stupid music note. Sorry, St. Louis.
Yeah, so I'm gonna say that. Man, I would love it if Utah snuck in there.
That'd be fun, right?
So who are the Pacific? Okay, so I'll say Vancouver jumps the Kings,
Yeah.
and now the Kings are out. Dallas still makes it, and then I'm gonna go. Nashville makes a big push at the end, and they get in there.
All right, that's bold. That's bold. Eli, what do you think?
Oof. I was thinking the Kings might fall.
Okay.
I think they might fall at least to a wild card. I don't know if they'll be out.
Yeah.
I just don't know that, like, Utah and Calgary are the top teams right there. I don't know that either of them are going to be better than Vancouver or Dallas. So I don't think it changes. That'll be my knuckle puck in there.
Yeah, I'm actually with you on that one. It sounds a tiny bit boring reading them, but I think the order will change. The Jets, I think, will drop a little bit, and the Kings might drop a little bit. I think the Stars will go up, the Wild will go down. I don't know, but point being, I do think that those are the 8 teams.
Okay.
I kind of, just for the drama, I would sort of like either Utah or the Flames to get in and the Canucks to lose.
I would love
Vancouver's going to lose their mind if that happens. But I don't really see it. I think that a few of these for me, it's the Knights. I think Golden Knights versus Panthers is the teams. I know everyone's really hot on Oilers, and you kind of want McDavid to win one. You know, even if you're not an Edmonton fan. Yeah. I would love a Canadian team to win just because of the buzz, and I would give anything for a Toronto-Edmonton final. Are you kidding me? That would be so much drama. I love it, especially living down here where we don't have to really deal with it. But, are you kidding me? The NBA is sitting there shooting three-pointers from half court and nobody playing defense, and that's your playoffs? Versus McDavid versus Matthews?
Matthews, that would be good.
Toronto versus Edmonton? Are you kidding me? Canada's head will explode. Nobody will work.
Canada. I don't know if Canada could handle it.
I don't know if they can handle it. And with the Jets, the alleged favorites who are going to go and just get their teeth kicked in by the Golden Knights, I'm loving it. I think everyone hates Vegas, right? But people kind of act like they're just laughing. Oh yeah, well you saw them lose to Dallas. It's whatever. I'm like, dude, you just don't like them. Look at that roster. They are debatably the best team in the NHL. They are absolutely totally stacked. They have the best record in the NHL. Devils, Jets, and Vegas are tied for points, but the best record is the Golden Knights. 24.
The Devils have played like 5 more games.
Exactly. So it's like at this point, I think it's 3, but yeah, they've played a lot more games, and Vegas didn't start the year 16-0. So it's like they're just consistently dominant. And even though the Panthers aren't dominating the East, you've seen a couple of their games where they just beat the living tar out of Edmonton. A rematch. They won, right, like 7-4 or whatever. I mean, it wasn't like it was, but those are my teams still. I think the Golden Knights and the Panthers are the two best teams. But unfortunately, I wouldn't be surprised if the Avalanche go, we switched our goalies and we have Makar. We're going to the final. But, I'm hoping that the Leafs get over the hump and they get absolutely ripped apart by Edmonton. That would be hilarious. I would love that. Like it's just like a 4-game. It's a boring final. McDavid has 4 goals a game, and it's just they just rip them apart. I still don't really have a lot of faith in Edmonton though because of Stu Skinner. Sorry, but we talked about it at the beginning of the year. You're going to put Justin Woll and Stu Skinner in the Stanley Cup final?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
No. I agree, right? Or Jake Ottinger and Sergei Bobrovsky.
Yeah.
Okay, well, hold on a minute. This is like a Hasek Brodeur showdown going on, So, anyways, I thought I'd throw that little knuckle puck your guys' way and see what you got.
I like it.
You had some good history, though, for us today to kind of wrap up the pod.
So, this is coming out over the holidays, and the biggest, maybe the biggest regular season game during the year, ratings-wise at least, is the Winter Classic, right? So that's right around the corner. I believe it's actually being played on New Year's Eve, not New Year's Day this year. And it's always a little tricky because you have, the NFL is just playing every day. They had games on Christmas yesterday. There's a game today, games tomorrow, Monday Night Football. I mean, it's just insane. It's always a hard time, too, with college football. You got all the bowl games.
Yep.
So the NHL is always competing for TV time. So the Winter Classic hasn't always been on New Year's Day. It's also been on January 2nd or New Year's Eve, depending on how the days fall and what else is going on. So,
right.
But
if New Year's Day is a Sunday, all the teams still play, right? They always play Sunday, even if it's a holiday. They're not going to shift and play on Saturday.
You mean the NFL?
Yeah, the NFL is always going to play Sunday, right? Even if it's Christmas or it's.
And they have no problem playing on Christmas. There were 2 games on Christmas.
Yeah, they did some Netflix special or whatever. But no, that's a good point though. The NHL, no, they just can't compete. There's no point. There's no point in trying to go against the juggernaut.
Right.
Your guys' camera froze. Okay, we had a couple technical difficulties there, but I think we're back. Nick, you were going with the outdoor game?
Yeah, Winter Classic. So we've been doing these for a little bit now. Winter Classics on New Year's Day, like I said before. I'm not sure if it got cut off or not, but sometimes it's January 2nd, sometimes it's New Year's Eve. Just kind of depends on other sports schedules. The NFL is obviously king, so NHL works around that. We're in college bowl season, so a lot of football games going on. And I do just want to focus on the Winter Classic. I know that there are some other outdoor games. We got Stadium Series out there. We have Heritage Classics between the Canadian teams and stuff like that. So so sometimes it's a little skewed in our minds as to who's actually played in a Winter Classic because maybe a team's played in an outdoor game, but it wasn't the Winter Classic. So I kind of went through some of this today, and there were some things that I even kind of learned or just kind of forgot about. So Winter Classic, in 2013, there was not a Winter Classic. It was canceled because of the lockout. The season got pushed back, such a late start. And it was going to be Leafs at Wings, which then just got pushed to the next year. So it's not like whatever team was going to host it, then they just scrapped it all together. It just got pushed back a year. Same with in 2021. So the years are kind of weird because it happens on New Year's Day. So you think,
right. Yeah.
But so COVID happened in 2020, which then affected the 2021 outdoor game.
Okay.
So in 2020, we still had Winter Classic because it happened in January. The world didn't shut down until March.
Right, yeah.
It was then the 2021 game that was supposed to be the Blues at Wild that got postponed, pushed back another year because of that. So I think the first Winter Classic happened in, do you know when that was? Well, it was before Eli was born.
I
And you're
know.
looking at my
First
notes.
one was before you were born, 99?
No, the first Winter Classic.
Oh, Eli, we were born in
He was
10.
born in 2010.
Yeah.
So it was Pittsburgh versus Buffalo, right? Is the first one?
Yeah.
Which, no offense, was the best one. Shut it down. That blizzard came
I
through.
mean, how you couldn't have topped it.
You couldn't have.
That
The
was
script was good. Whoever the writer was.
the weather, the snow. I mean, everything was just
Although
perfect.
Wings
The league
Toronto
could not have planned it better. Crosby scoring the shootout winner. Um,
in a snowstorm in Buffalo.
I
I mean, come
mean, come on. It was 2008. That was the first Winter Classic.
on. Okay.
The next year, we go Wings versus Hawks at Wrigley.
Yep.
I kind of wanted to go to that game, but it was just going to be. Here's the thing, too. So, would you, given the chance, would you go to a Winter Classic?
I mean, if it was just handed to me for free, I would go. Yeah. If I had to plan it and go there and buy them, I have been to one outdoor hockey game. I think only one. I went to University of Michigan versus University of Wisconsin at the Wisconsin's football stadium.
Mm-hmm.
We left.
Mm.
It was -20, and you could not see the players. And I was like,
Yeah.
bye.
So that's my thing, and I think the NHL realizes that too. That this is like an event in and of itself. It's not if you're going. A lot of these games have taken places at baseball stadiums. The majority of these games, and baseball stadiums are not the best setup for an NHL rink. The
Right.
reason we do a lot in the baseball stadiums is because it's their off season. Nothing else is going on. They're empty. They're just sitting there. Why not use them? But
Right.
to find a good seat, tickets are always crazy. Price. You're outside in January. These games are usually in cold places.
Yeah.
So it's just like, why would I want to deal with the traffic? I'll be honest. 2014, I really wanted to go. Leafs at Wings at the Big House, Michigan.
Oh, yeah.
They sold 105,000 tickets. The league made $20 million at that event. But do I want to go? I can only afford nosebleed tickets, so I'm sitting
Right.
way at the top at Michigan Stadium
Easy.
in January at a football stadium, dealing with 100,000 other people, parking, traffic. I don't want to have to deal with all of that. As much as I would love to go, and I probably will still go at one point just to do it. You're just there for the atmosphere and to say you've been to a Winter Classic. I'm not going.
Definitely.
You're sitting way up high at a football stadium to see the NHL rink inside of the football
It's
field.
real little.
You can't see the play. You can't see what's going
No,
on. It's more just kind of the novelty of being there, I would say. So I don't really
definitely.
have a desire to necessarily go to one. I do think it would be fun to go to one if you went and did like how we've done in the past, a guy's trip. Hey, we're going to the outdoor game.
Right.
We're gonna,
Right.
you know, pregame a little bit or tailgate, or then we're gonna go hit up
Right.
this place and then do this or whatever. But and honestly, sometimes the alumni games are more attractive to me than the actual game. This wasn't a Winter Classic,
The
but the Avs
Toronto.
Wings game, that was a stadium series. You're telling me you don't want to go see the Avs Wings '90s players playing
Come
that
on.
the day before? I care more about that game than I did the actual game that counted
Right.
in the standings. Um, so I won't go through all of these years, but they've been going on since 2008. We've missed two because of a lockout and COVID. I will just highlight that Leafs at Wings game, 105,000 tickets sold. One of the biggest outdoor games, ever. Where
I
was
think it
this?
was the biggest ever until last year. I
May
think
have been, may have been.
this is the
Uh,
big house. It's hard to top it.
yeah. So another one, Blues at Wild. That was at Target Field in Minneapolis.
Okay.
To 2022. The Blues ended up winning 6-4. Uh, I remember that game. I remember seeing lots of pictures of guys with frozen beers and different things like that. What
Yeah.
what do you remember what the temperature was at puck drop for that game?
Oh, I don't, but let's see. 2022.
2022, Minnesota on New
So
Year's
they're in
Day
St.
or New
Paul or
Year's Eve,
Minneapolis.
somewhere around there. I don't know.
I'm going to guess that the real actual temperature was negative 15 and the
Neg-
wind chill 30,
It was -5 at puck drop.
which is probably at 5 or 6 p.m. The games are a little earlier, aren't they?
Yeah.
I mean, imagine 8 or 9 at night. It's by the
Now,
third period
now imagine being up in the nosebleeds.
with the wind just.
No,
You're on
thank
the
you.
fourth story.
No, thank you. What are we doing?
No, no, thank you. Because it's the same thing with the NFL. The guys go shirtless to Green Bay
Oh,
versus the Viking. I
yeah,
say I'm not that big of a football fan, or I'm not that intoxicated.
yeah,
I'm not going.
yeah. I'm
You're
I'm not
insane.
doing it. So
And it's the most expensive game of the year.
yeah, I'm not paying for that. I'm sorry. Okay, so just a few little quick things here. This year's or next, no, it'd be this year's, I guess, still because it's New Year's Eve. But
Yeah.
however you
Oh,
want to say that,
sneaky. 24.
um, it's going to be the Hawks are hosting the Blues at Wrigley. Um, I mean, I get, and that's one of the things that I was reading was that the league can get away with some of these regional games like this, because that's a lot of times that's what it is, right? Blues, Blackhawks, Caps, Penguins, Rangers, Sabres, Leafs, Red Wings. Um, uh,
Even Buffalo and Pittsburgh are kind of.
yeah, I mean, it's not really. You have some games
Sort of.
that one of the coolest ones I thought, sort of in a weird way, was the Blackhawks versus the Bruins playing at Notre Dame.
Right.
Original six teams playing at Notre Dame, so Midwest, East Coast kind of a thing. But a lot of times they are just regional. And the way the NHL gets by with that is because, they know they draw their expensive tickets. Though, like I said, the Leafs Wings game made them $20 million. So you're selling tickets. You know that these teams are going to draw regionally from where they're at. People want to go to these games, even if it's not just because of the game, but it's just because it's the event.
The event. It's a weekend thing to do, money to burn.
Yeah,
Or
it's over the holidays. A lot of people have off work, New Year's Day, New Year's Eve, that kind of thing. So,
Yes.
um, uh, the two teams have played in 4 Winter Classics. Can you guess the two teams?
The two teams that have played in 4.
Winter
One.
Classics now, not outdoor games. I'm not
Ooh, okay, so
just
it
Winter
could be a
Classics.
curveball, but I'm almost positive the Hawks is one of them
The
because yuck.
Blackhawks are one of them.
I feel like it is not the St. Louis Blues, but they've been in too many, for my opinion. It's St. Louis. It's not even that big of a city. The other one is
Hint:
Toronto or Pittsburgh.
it's another original 6 team.
Oh, it's Boston.
Boston. So Boston and Chicago have both played in 4 Winter Classics. Now they've also played in other Stadium Series games, outdoor
Right.
games. So yeah, in these Winter Classic games, though, Boston, their record 3-1.
Mhm.
Hawks
I feel like the Hawks
0-4.
love it, and it's about to be 0-5.
About to be 0-5.
Oh yeah.
But you get these big market teams, original 6 teams. I understand the allure and the appeal of pond hockey with these teams, the deep, rich history of them, they're bigger city, bigger market. So I understand.
Yeah.
Pittsburgh, they've been in 3 Winter Classics. They
Okay.
are 1-2. Now, some of these teams, the Hawks, I think, also lost a Stadium Series to the Penguins, so their records are even a little bit different for outdoor games. But this is just Winter Classics. So Hawks and Boston 4 times, Penguins 3 times, and then we have the Blues, the Rangers, the Capitals, the Red Wings, Sabres, and Flyers. All have played in 2 Winter Classics.
Okay.
And then we have a lot of teams: Stars, Canadians, Leafs, Kraken, have played in 1 and have won. They're 1-0. Stars, Canadians, Leafs, Kraken 1-0 in Winter Classics. Wild, Preds, and Vegas 0-1 in their Winter
Okay.
Classic appearances. So again, these teams have played in other outdoor games. The Leafs have been in Heritage Classics. Canadians obviously Heritage Classics, Stadium Series, all kinds of stuff. I do think it's very cool. I would kind of like to. I'm sure the players. It's kind of a novelty for them. It's almost one of these things where you start to have too many outdoor games and it kind of loses the appeal
Sure.
of. Now, I do like how sometimes they'll have an alumni game or some college hockey games. It's a big production, right? To put it
Right.
to make this rink an outdoor rink somewhere. So if you can get at the Big House, if you can get the University of Michigan playing Wisconsin or Michigan
Yeah.
State or Notre Dame,
I think this year they are, right?
I believe so, and they usually do. But I think if you can just do that, maybe make that more of a thing rather than I don't
Yeah.
know that we always need some stadium series games and different things like that. It just seems to kind of water down the Winter Classic a little bit. That was the Winter Classic was supposed to be the one uh kind of
The one a
the
year, and
one a
then they went
year,
a
and then
little
we
nuts
start
with
to
the
add
Stadium Series.
heritage classics between Canadian teams and stadium series just between other teams. And whereas if you just kind of rotated this a little bit, hey, I don't need to see the Blackhawks every New Year's Eve get killed.
Every
How about we let someone else get a chance? So maybe
and
that's
then
part of the
you look
reason.
to Seattle, and it's like, okay, well, there's some teams that are newer teams that haven't had a chance. Like, why haven't the Devils played Dallas or something like that? You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Or like,
And so,
come
I
on.
mean, I understand they're wanting to make, a lot of these like the regional things. You want there to be a rivalry. You want there to be some sort of connection between the two teams that are playing. So I get that, but I just think that maybe we've taken it a little bit too far with the Stadium Series and the Winter Classic and the Heritage Classic, all in the same year.
Yeah, because the
Because
heritage makes a little sense, right? Where it's like, well, they're
yeah,
Canadian teams, and if you're trying to make money, you also go like Canada's the biggest fan base, even though it's a smaller country.
right,
Where it's like it's harder to travel internationally, even
yeah,
though Toronto to Buffalo short. It's like you still have to have your passport and plan it, and go there.
yeah,
You don't have to exchange money as much anymore because of debit cards, but it's like
yeah,
it's a no-brainer to throw a Montreal versus Toronto game in Montreal and rake in the money.
yeah.
That okay, I get it. But now we got 6 a year.
Right.
It's like,
And that's why they do it and why they'll keep doing it is because of the money.
yes, they will.
So whatever. I do like some of the stuff that they have going on these things. I'm not always a huge fan of the other jerseys, especially when it's like original six teams and you can't really do much with the jersey and then we're trying to and as much as I hate the Hawks, I do like what they've done with some of their Winter Classic jerseys, but the Wings we're just let's not change that. What are we doing? Some of their outdoor game jerseys, the Stadium Series one in particular, I wasn't a fan of, but like if you can make it look kind of old timey or more, from the original six era or something, okay. But I sometimes it's fun to do things, but when you're trying to do a Winter Classic, you have a lot of original six teams and old franchises, and then it's like, well, what are we doing here? What? Let's not, But if you're the whatever even the Caps, I mean they've been around for 50 years now, but it's like okay, well that's not 50 years in one sport might be a long time, but the NHL when you're talking you've been around 100 years, all right, well the Preds and Stars who were just in one, yeah, do whatever you want, have a heyday with it, you guys are new, you're trying to get whatever, but so sometimes the jerseys are all right and I like them, other times it's just like what are we doing,
Right.
but
I agree.
so I have one thing kind of brought up here was, and I read a little article in New York Times, and they were talking about the NHL and some of their venues. And I
Mhm.
guess it wasn't a Winter Classic; it was a Stadium Series during the COVID time when we did Lake Tahoe, and it was
Oh yeah.
the Golden Knights versus the Avs, maybe, and then the second game was like Boston Flyers, or I can't remember exactly what it was, but there were 2 games that they had there.
Right. I forgot there was 2. I remember
But just
Boston
a
versus
nightmare
Knights, right? Yeah.
because they had to delay the game because of the sun, the glare on
Oh,
the
the sun
ice.
melted it. Like, even though it was cold, it was too hot.
Yeah, and so then they like
Yeah.
resumed play at midnight or something crazy. There were
Something
no
weird
people
happened,
there,
yes.
no fans, because of the
Because
COVID
Boston
thing.
wore, like, the 90s ski gear
Yeah.
or something. It was
So
fun, but it was
yeah,
weird. Yeah.
yeah. So that game got great ratings. So then they broke down here and they presented 10 other venues that they would like to see, because let's be honest, after a while, baseball stadiums, football stadiums, it's all the same, right? I mean, what are we
Well,
changing
we're
up
going
here,
to Wrigley again.
So let's throw some some knuckle pucks. Let's hit some knuckle
Let's
pucks, if you
get
will.
a couple knuckle
And let's
pucks.
see. I'm gonna read these off to you. And again, some of these teams are kind of regional, and logistically, I don't know how some of these would work, but it's fun to think about.
Okay.
So, here we go. The first one, and some of these places I hadn't really heard of.
Well, it's geography with hockey, so I'm
Yeah.
foaming at the mouth.
Okay. So the first one that they mention is Lake Louise, which is in Banff National Park in Canada. Oilers versus Flames. Now they did have a picture there, and I mean it's just very picturesque. That's what Lake Tahoe was, right? All these shots, you're just out in the outdoors. We are going back to the frozen pond, even if you're not on the lake itself, but a rink right next to the
Right.
lake. Same
Oh,
vibe. So you get Lake Louise in Canada's, Jewel National Park between the Oilers and the Flames. Are you kidding me? Come
that's
on.
amazing. I
Come
think that
on.
you've seen a bunch of videos, Twitter, Instagram, whatever, where people play pond hockey,
Yes.
and it's like the video looks like it's the sky, and then they pull it up, and
Yeah.
it's like, that's the water.
Yeah.
Like it's a perfect mirror. That's Lake Louise.
Yeah.
And
So,
the thing is pretty solid. They'd never put $100 million worth of players out on the lake, but
yeah.
they could.
Yeah.
That it is cold
Yeah.
up there.
So logistically, not sure how some of these are going to work. Like I said, it would probably cost way more money than what they would be able to recoup.
It
But
could. There's a couple ski resorts nearby, though. I mean, they
super
probably
fun to think about.
They
Super
couldn't get
fun to
fans
think
there,
about.
but that'd be awesome.
So, number 2 on their list was the National Mall in DC. Now, I don't know, when reading the article, it made it seem like in one instance, it'd be cool if they actually played on like the reflecting pond there. Uh, but then they also had mentioned about, a rink in between like the Washington Monument and I think the Capitol. Or maybe
That'd be pretty cool.
But I mean, just something. So that's what they're after, right? You're in that vibe where hey, the landscape, what's around you, the panoramic view are now the Washington Monument, the Lincoln Memorial, the Capitol's in the background. That's what you're looking at instead of just a football stadium. What's the vibe?
Right.
What's the feel? The atmosphere there? Hey, you're right downtown with all the monuments. Be perfect, right?
100%. You know what? This is really smart marketing too, because one thing that I think's lacking is like if you've ever been to an NFL game, I think I only went to one, and I did one time get to see Ohio State versus Michigan in Michigan. To your point, it's an event, it's a thing. You go because it's the game.
Yeah.
I don't really remember the game that much. It was just crazy. Going to the big house is crazy. So it's like the opposite. If you go to an NFL game live, they're not really that fun unless you're a huge fan or you tailgate or you are a drinker or something. Like watching football on TV is a better product.
Right.
The NFL has perfected TV viewership. The NHL, So it's like, we can't get people to Lake Louise. Who cares, bro? Get some drones out there to get shots of the mountains while they're skating around.
Yeah.
And you're going to be watching on TV blown away. And all the casual fans are going to tune in.
Right.
And with people like Amazon who are just buying their way into sports, this is where New York Times goes, hey, Amazon, let's do an outdoor game in front of the Capitol. And they go,
yeah,
I don't care how much it costs. Let's do that.
Right.
Come on. Okay, so let's keep going with the list. Sorry to interrupt, but I think
you're good.
something that would make them money on TV.
Yeah.
They don't need the tickets.
Yeah. This one, I'm not sure space-wise where you put it, but
Outer space.
Central Park, New York.
Whoa.
Can you imagine? Uh,
Oh, they could fit it easily though. I mean, the park is massive.
the part of the problem, what they're saying is, stands and that kind of thing with people. So
The traffic.
it's just a fun idea of like where these games. Again,
Iconic location.
if you're the players and you're playing in that game, you're sitting on the bench, you're in Central Park. That would be
Oh,
awesome, dude. Awesome.
honestly, it'd have to be the best part of your career. One of the playing at Wrigley's one thing.
Yeah.
Oh, I was at the Central Park game. They
Yeah.
did it one time ever in history. Like, come on.
Yeah. Another one they had mentioned was Niagara Falls, Sabres versus Leafs, super close to each other. Get those
Right on the
games
border.
right on the
Oh,
border. You got the
perfect.
falls in the background, the roar of the just however
Yeah.
many thousands of
I
gallons
think
going through that
the
thing.
the name of the city is Niagara as well. I mean,
It might be.
that's where they cross anyways. They go and watch each other play all the time. It's perfect. Perfect.
Another one that I really kind of liked when they threw it out there was Mount Rushmore. You get the Wild versus Utah playing below Mount
Oh,
Rushmore.
okay. I would have done Wild versus
Or the
the Jets,
Avs or Jets or what? Yeah, yeah. Throw whatever teams you want in there. But
right? Only because the Dakotas are in between,
yes, I think
kind
maybe
of.
they're going with Wild in Utah because you got the Minnesota
Nice.
Wild, so it's like the wilderness playing
And
against
then
Utah. They have a lot of national park. You're just kind
and a
of
lot of
getting that
mountains. Yeah, yeah,
that
yeah. You
vibe
get the
going.
vibe.
But around Mount Rushmore, everything
Oh,
that's out there, the Black
and
Hills and the
the,
Badlands and stuff, dude, that'd be sick.
that would be amazing.
Another one that they had mentioned, this would be kind of interesting to see how it would work, but you get the Tampa Bay Lightning playing the Florida Panthers,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
they kind of meet in the middle, right underneath, right below, out in the front lawn of Cinderella's castle at Disney World.
Dude, yes.
How you pull that
I'm
off,
all
though,
for
I
it.
don't know because you got to get Disney on board and all the people and everything. I don't know, but would that not
You
be
know what?
such a
Disney
cool?
wants the Ducks versus
Do one in
the Panthers.
Disneyland then. Do one in
And Disney,
Disneyland.
get
Whatever
your
you want.
checkbook out. We
Yeah.
know your money never ends, Disney. Let's go.
So I liked that idea. Another one here, they had the Blackhawks versus the Red Wings in Chicago, but not at a baseball stadium, just in Grant Park.
Okay.
So now you have a little bit of the Chicago skyline. Lake Michigan's off to the side. Um,
Yes. Yeah, I thought of the what's the other one? Millennium
yeah,
Park?
Millennium Park, somewhere in that
That's my
area.
soldier. Yeah.
You got the fountains and the amphitheater there. I mean, you have kind of the space to just it's outdoors. There's no sporting venue that you're doing this in. You're just kind of doing it in a park, in a neighborhood, and that's the
Yeah.
vibe you're
It
getting.
gives you the pond hockey vibe, which was the original idea. But of
Exactly.
course, you got to sell tickets and
Exactly.
have people, so I get it. But it's
Yes.
played out, like
Yeah.
you said, since 2008. We done it. We done it. We
Right.
went to a baseball field. You done it.
Yeah.
Oh, it's Fenway. No, no, no. Let's go somewhere cool.
Right.
No offense, Fenway, but we're saying in
And
nature.
and Fenway has hosted two. Now this will be Wrigley's second. I mean, we're just doing baseball stadiums where it's hard. The seat it just doesn't
It's
jive.
just not.
It's not a
It's a
good
diamond and a
setup.
rectangle. It
Not a
just
good setup.
doesn't work.
Yeah. Also, they had on here Santa Monica Pier, Kings and
Okay.
Ducks.
Okay.
Niagara little California vibe.
Yeah. And you know what?
Again,
Santa Monica Pier will get quite a bit colder than
yeah,
SoCal. It will
yeah.
be 50 degrees. They can do a rink. Well, they did an outdoor game in Los
They've
Angeles.
done
It was
outdoor
89.
games there. Yeah,
They can do it. The
yeah,
science is crazy.
yeah. Now this next place I didn't really know much about, and I'm gonna have to do maybe a little more of a deep dive later because it's Stanley Park. It's in Vancouver. Apparently, Stanley Park is also named after the same guy, Lord Stanley, Stanley Cup. Did not know that, but they're saying put an outdoor game at Stanley Park between the Canucks and the Seattle Kraken. They're right
Yes.
there.
Right
Right
there.
there. Vancouver Bay, dude, is perfect. Um, So I do love that idea.
Oh, you know what? It's the park with the seawall. That's part of the reason it's so famous.
Yeah.
It's got yeah.
Yeah. So what a great venue atmosphere that you could, again, these are just wish, we don't know how the logistics would work, anything, but just if money wasn't an object and if it wasn't
Right.
an issue, where could we do these? And that was one of them. Now the last one that they had on their top 10 is, I've never been here and I don't know where you would put an ice rink, but it's Alcatraz. Now,
there's got to be a fight every period minimum.
perfect, right? So the teams that they suggested were the Sharks and the Avs. I mean, put whoever you want.
Obviously,
on
the
thing.
Avs at Alcatraz.
Like,
Lock them up.
complete and total sense.
but they
them
said,
up.
can you imagine like the special jerseys you would come up with for an Alcatraz
Oh
game?
boy,
That would be so sick. And they said also you got to have Wes McCauley there, calling all the penalties. You're on the rock. Are you kidding me?
Come
5
on.
minutes for fighting.
That's a rough.
Yeah. And I did not know this. But a little more NHL history here. The first outdoor game ever was an exhibition game between the Red Wings versus inmates at Marquette Branch Prison in 1954. So now we're also kind of tying in the prison outdoor game aspect here. Now that game was an exhibition, and it was they stopped keeping score after the first period when it was 18-0 Red Wings. So they figured,
Okay.
inmates had enough punishment. We're just gonna stop keeping score.
Speaking of which, side note one, the inmates, it's probably super cool. You get to go out there, right? You got the production line. You get to play a game with Gordie Howe, I assume. That's when he played. The cojones on people like Gordie Howe to go put 18 pucks in the net against prisoners
right,
and say, try something.
Yeah.
I dare you.
Maybe they were white-collar prisoners.
Maybe it was financial crimes. They're involved in the stock market crashing.
So I love the idea of some of these places. Now they also had mentioned some honorable mentions. We're talking, Yosemite, Yellowstone, some of these national parks, the Vegas Strip, having one just right on the strip of an NHL game going. Prince Edward Island. So I think there are a lot of cool outdoor places that would just be an awesome backdrop for a hockey game. But logistically, how you do it and how, if you do that one on Lake Louise and Banff and not very many people can get there, obviously the NHL's not. There would be ways to me that you could sell advertising or sponsorships or something, some corporate thing to make your money, but you're just not going to get all the fans there. That would be the logistic, night.
Right. I wonder if the way you do it is you try to get money off TV, right? Like it's in Banff. Maybe you're not allowed. Maybe you're not allowed, right? At Mount Rushmore, there's a lot of native land. You
National
can't build
park stuff. Yeah, no, I get it.
But I wonder if you get a special permit to temporarily build a rink, you got to take it down. No fans, no stands, or it's a nearby thing, kind of like a Lake Placid. I know has been mentioned before.
Oh, sure, yeah,
Maybe you got near like Banff. All the fans are at the ski resort. They all have super luxury dining. It's all corporate sponsored, tons of money. It's an expensive event, but you're watching the game on TV.
Yeah.
Okay. Maybe they're not ideally making as much money as 20 million at the big house, but if you roll that into this, in my opinion, somewhat dumb preseasons all over the world where they go to Australia and Europe and it's fine, but like their marketing team, I don't know, they put handcuffs on them or they're asleep. Like I didn't know that the games in Zurich were happening until they were like over. And I looked up the scores. It's like, where's your advertisement team? Right. If the NFL, which they've done, played a game in whatever, Sydney or in Berlin, everyone in the world knows that they're on their way there. Like, hello, it's duh. So that's where you combine them. and it's like, okay, now you're talking Iceland or the Eiffel
Yeah.
Tower or crap like
Eiffel
that,
Tower.
where it's like you're just, and then it's like if you saw on a map, you're like, okay, you're actually like a mile and a half away from the Eiffel Tower. No one knows that on TV.
Right.
Like it's all about the drama. And no offense, but a half of a baseball stadium empty and the other half filled that we already did last year is like, it's done. It's played out. Are you kidding me? They won't go to Russia because they don't let them play in the international, but I'm talking right at the Winter Palace in St. Petersburg.
Yep.
Drop it in. That type of stuff. So you blend the ideas, and then they've got to make more money on something that dramatic versus like Buffalo's going to play 2 games at the local pro arena that sits 15,000. Okay, when's it on TV? 2 a.m.
Right.
Okay, why? So then you go to the European country and it's on at noon their time. I don't care. Sorry, we're only coming here once in a lifetime. Buy the tickets and go take school off.
Right.
Because it's 7 p.m. in Vancouver and they're all watching on TV while you're playing in France. This is awesome.
Yeah.
They should hire us. Yahoo and the NHL need to get going here.
They should figure something out because there's a lot of
working permit.
Yeah, there's a lot of potential out there, I feel like. So, I mean, and just if you want to go with that roots thing, I love that so Major League Baseball in the last few years, they've started. Now they built a Major League stadium, but Field of Dreams, the movie, in Iowa, they built a Major League Stadium like kind of right behind it, and it's kind of turning into a big complex thing now. But get back to that. Players love to play in that. So now they have a game. There's no Major League team in Iowa, but you get 2 big market teams. You put them there. It's ties to the past. It's the rich history. That's what the NHL. That's what this Winter Classic was supposed to be. Initially, hey, all these hockey players growing up playing on ponds and backyard hockey and everything. That's what was supposed to like be this thing. So.
Yes. 100%. And you just do it like where it's whatever. Maybe some of the famous locations in the world are too remote where it's like a Mount Everest type thing becomes like a hazard or dangerous. Or Lake Baikal is in the absolute middle of nowhere. So like there's certain places where maybe not. But you take teams where they have a lot of fans or they're very good and it's difficult to do an outdoor game like Dallas. Or like in the past, Southern California. I want the Lightning versus Panthers. What are you going to do? Build one in the Everglades?
Yeah.
Screw it. Just take them to Moscow. Just go play somewhere else. Okay, we're going to Switzerland. I'm not playing in the local professional seats 12,000 barn. As cool as that is, we're building a temporary rink in the foothills of the freaking Swiss Alps. Right here, we got Sound of Music skiing down to safety, and it's like, that's the drop where that's your excuse. You take the hot weather climate teams and you throw them somewhere else as a special venue. Kill 2 birds with 1 stone. Because otherwise the Panthers have to play Toronto in Toronto. And it's like, well, we've already seen Toronto play. Because, of course, the players aren't from there. The players didn't grow up in Miami. They're from Canada and Sweden and Finland.
Right.
So that's a cool idea. I love the article. I love that you brought that to our attention. And I don't think the NHL will probably do some of the more dramatic ones.
I think those are all,
And even if you do a stadium, go play in Wembley or something. Put the ideas together.
Yeah. So
that would be,
it was a fun list to go through. Just something fun to think about.
And they all play pro hockey. They're just not as good. You can go, Eli, if you ever go to college and you're playing hockey and the Red Wings didn't draft you, it's like you can make like $20,000 to play in Italy.
Yeah.
And the hockey's not very good, but it's like a lot of them are like your meals are paid for, your equipment's paid for.
You're still playing pro hockey.
Okay, well, if you're 22 and you're not good enough to go to the NHL, okay, well, guess what? maybe you can play some semi-pro over there, have tons of fun, make tons of friends. Maybe you meet your gorgeous wife in Milan while you're playing on the B League team, and it's like, okay, we got tons of time to move back to the States and work all day, every day, my whole life.
Yeah.
Give those people some stadium series.
100%.
Interesting.
So that's all I got for that. But yeah, just a fun little kind of a wish list and just something fun to think about.
Perfect, dude. I love that. Any follow-ups? Anything else to go with?
Nope, I don't
Eli,
think
you have
so.
anything?
No.
No? Okay, keep your ears to the ground. Watch all your Instagram, your X, your Twitter for NHL news with trades, because I kind of forgot they do a trade freeze.
Yeah.
I think that yesterday was the last day. So today we're recording on December 28th, Saturday, I think is back open. So there's been a lot of drama with the Vancouver Canucks and with the Rangers and Brady Tkachuk, probably not. But, keep your eyes out there over this break. Then next week we may or may not record. My baby's turning 1 year old. I got family coming in for the New Year's and all that. So it's sort of a little bit crazy still with delayed holidays. As you can see, the three of us are still in the spirit. But that's all we had for this week. Thank you for joining us. And have a happy new year. Whatever your resolution is, I hope it stays past January 3rd. And keep your stick on the ice.
All right. Make the first move, Conway.
Send me more trades.
I love it. Will do. See you guys.
Later.